Yeah,
V, you ever thought about being a lawyer?
um, no, but in retrospect, I should have probably have gotten either into law or something else than I did.
You're still young. You can do it.
Um, kind of like what I am, but yeah, I mean, like, law wouldn't have been too bad. I don't know why I didn't get into law.
I mean, same here. I was interested in politics. Just now, I'm like, law. Let's just do law. I just started studying for law.
Oh, you're doing law now?
Yeah, I'm still interested in politics, but the market is really hard. So I want to get into a good law school so I can just like, if the market was ever hard, I could just get a job no matter what. That's why I'm going to law school, just for job, like to maximize my job security. Plus, I think I'd be really good at it.
How old are you?
I'm 27, almost 28.
And how long is?
Law school,
Yeah.
3 years. I'll be a lawyer by 2030.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Are you already in? Are you already in law school
The
now?
conclusion doesn't follow from the premises.
No, I'm studying for the LSAT now. I'll be if all goes well, I'll go to law school in fall 27.
P4 contains a grammatical error.
Wait, let me just lower this guy.
You gotta work on your syllogisms, man. They're pretty bad.
Do you think he was trolling?
Yeah, I think so.
How's it doing, Hoya?
Yeah, I saw him. He was like all professional, had like the background, library, and everything.
Yeah. He got a new video. Oh no, it's Cosmic Man.
Yeah, I just saw him in talking to Divinity.
Idiosyncratic God Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you serious talking to Divinity? Or you just
Yeah. I wanted to debate him, but I mean, he thought my
You're not
definition
serious
was
saying that the universe is God, bro.
universe is in God, but that would be my idealistic position, and that wasn't the
No,
position. I
no.
wanted to argue from.
Spinoza's God. Spinoza's God. That's not a serious position.
What I mean, it's not a serious position.
Because it's so idiosyncratic, obviously.
Yeah, but again, that wasn't the definition I wanted to use. I wanted to use like the more standard definition, and that was the one I gave, but he didn't like it. So I said that God is a mind that created the universe. That was my definition.
Yeah, but why are you talking about Spinoza? Nobody asked about that.
No, but maybe you. I mean, did you listen to the whole conversation?
The whole? No, but I feel like talking about Spinoza's in this context would be irrelevant, no?
I mean, he said that that it wouldn't be like a theistic position, and I said
Right.
that would be because
That's why it's
Spinoza.
irrelevant to talk about, because the conversation was contextualized around theism and theistic positions.
Yeah, and Spinoza was a theist in his own view.
But that's just equivocating on theism, right?
I mean, he did have an idiosyncratic definition of God. I'm not
That's just
disputing
it.
that.
So right. So let's not talk about equivocating notions of the term, right? Let's stay on topic. That's the whole point I'm saying. Like you were being idiosyncratic.
What are you talking about? I told you that wasn't my definition.
I'm saying you talking about it is irrelevant because it's idiosyncratic.
So we can't.
How do you not get that?
Idiosyncratic definitions? Is that what you're saying?
You talking about Spinoza's God because
I didn't
Spinoza's.
use it.
I'm saying talking about it is irrelevant. How do you not get that? Are you okay?
What do you mean? Talking about something, even though you don't like ascribe to that position, there's nothing wrong.
What was the point of bringing it up? Did it advance the conversation? No. So it's irrelevant to bring it up.
No, it wasn't. I mean, because of the criticisms he was giving me, but that wasn't my definition anyway. So,
Right, which is it makes it worse for you to bring it up. What's the point of bringing it up?
all right, man. Whatever.
Did you find somebody to debate?
I mean, I did send a message to Friction, but isn't Friction a theist?
No, he's an atheist.
Oh, okay. So I did send. I mean, Danny seems interested. And I asked Divinity. I mean, those are the only people I've asked basically. I don't know who else to ask. Who else would be interested? I guess maybe what's his name? You know, the guy that
Where you
debated,
get, what's
debated
what's the
Alex.
debate about?
Is consciousness evidence for God? You want to debate?
And by consciousness, you mean finding consciousness in the world?
Yeah, conscious minds. Yeah, like you and me and animals and all that.
Well, that's obviously. I mean, wow, you're taking affirmative on that.
Yeah, you want to debate?
There's no way you get to win that, bro. Come on,
Okay, let's debate then.
you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right, he's ready, V.
No, but you need to like just think through a bit on how you want to put the debate proposition. Think about this, like what do you mean by consciousness in the proposition? Is consciousness evidence for God?
Yeah, I will lay all that out in the debate.
No, but what
Define
do you
my
mean
terms.
by consciousness?
What I mean by consciousness? You want
In that proposition, when you specifically say is consciousness evidence?
I don't mean it in like an idiosyncratic way. I mean it in the way
that's
people-
fine,
like
but what-
Hegel's definition, basically.
No, but I mean like that there just is consciousness because
Yeah,
God,
conscious minds like me and you and animals and all that. I
Yeah,
think
but
that's
God is a conscious mind, right?
yeah, that is a conscious mind. Yeah, animals, me, you, and so on. Those would be conscious minds. I consider the existence of conscious minds, like me and you and animals, to be evidence for the existence of God, and that's what I wanna defend. I think Hatim is up for it, so let's go.
But there's bare theism doesn't have any predictions. So
Yeah, we can discuss all that. You want to do the debate, Hatim?
probably not. I'm not interested.
Why? You said I'm setting myself up for failure, so it would be easy for you.
But I don't care about winning. I care about learning. It doesn't seem like I do anything.
Let's learn together. Don't come with excuses now.
I'm saying I don't think I'd learn anything. So there's no point.
Oh my God, Hatim.
I don't really get these like evidence questions though. They kind of seem like uninteresting. Are you familiar with like the difference between C inductive and P inductive Bayesian argument?
No, tell me.
Like the thing is, when you say is X evidence for Y, think about it this way. Are you merely saying that it raises the probability of that thesis, or are you saying
Yeah.
that
I'm not talking entailment or anything like that. Yeah.
No, I know. I'm just saying. Are you saying it raises the Are you just saying it like it raises the probability, as in the hypothesis conditionalized upon background knowledge and this piece of evidence is greater than the prior probability of the hypothesis?
Yeah, I would give like equal probability or credence to both atheism and theism.
No, but that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking is, are you just saying that once we update on consciousness, that probability is greater than the prior probability of theism?
Yes,
But why is that like interesting?
because that's what it means for something to be evidence.
Yeah, but why is that interesting? Like, it would be interesting if. So let me just explain the difference. It would be interesting if, given consciousness, it'd be rational to believe in theism now. That would be an interesting argument. But just to say that it's some evidence for theism, why is that interesting? For example, the hypothesis that all ravens are black. A white chair is evidence for the hypothesis that all ravens is black. Like that's not interesting.
I don't think chairs are evidence. How is chairs evidence for ravens being black?
You don't know like Raven's paradox?
No, tell me.
Well, all ravens are black. What's the contrapositive of that?
All ravens are white?
No, I said the contrapositive of all ravens are black.
No, you tell me.
Do you know what a contrapositive is?
No.
Okay, I see. It's like a very known thing that like Raven's paradox about and how like evidence comes really cheap. But I can walk you through the deduction if you like.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So like contrapositive is a rule of inference in classical logic. So think about the material conditional. If P then Q, the contrapositive of that is both the contraposition and the inverse of it. So the contrapositive of if P then Q is if not Q then P. Those are logically.
You mean like modus ponens and modus tollens?
Well, those are two rules of inferences. This is another rule of inference.
Is it in propositional logic?
Yeah. It's the rule of inference called contrapositive. And
Oh,
it's a move from if P then Q to not P then not Q, right? So that's if you apply contrapositive to if P then Q, you get not Q. If not Q, then not P. Now, if you take all ravens are black, the contrapositive of that is all non-black things are non-ravens, right? So, are you following me?
yeah, I'm following you.
So the contrapositive of all ravens are black is all non-black things are non-raven, right? And what's an instance of that? An instance of that is a white chair, right? So a white chair is a non-raven, right? So a white chair is evidence for the hypothesis all non-black things are non-ravens. But since all non-black things are non-ravens is equivalent to all ravens are black, that means a white chair is evidence for the hypothesis that all ravens are black.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Now, so that's why I'm saying like evidence is like very cheap. We can grant that consciousness is evidence for God, but like so what? Unless it's evidence to the degree that it makes the hypothesis of theism more probable than its negation, it's not really going to be an interesting argument.
Also, I think, like in contrast to atheism, like if you make a comparative analysis, it's also relevant.
Well, I don't. Well, atheism doesn't say anything about consciousness.
I think you could draw conclusions from like
Atheism
semantic
is just-
content of atheism. Like I don't think an atheist could say, for example, that reality is grounded in mind.
Why?
I think it would collapse into like bare theism if they said that.
I mean, you can be an atheist and a panpsychist.
Yeah, but I think that making that move is first of all, it's ad hoc. Like you just do it just to like.
That's not what
evidence.
ad hoc means.
Huh?
That's not what ad hoc means.
It is. So it doesn't follow from the hypothesis itself, but then when you like is confronted by some evidence, you change the hypothesis to incorporate that. That is ad hoc.
Well, ad hoc is if I have a hypothesis and I encounter evidence that falsifies that hypothesis, and I make changes to the hypothesis just to avoid that the evidence falsifies it. That's
That's
gonna be.
exactly what I said.
But I'm just saying, atheism by itself, God does not exist, does not make any predictions about whether there's consciousness or not, or what is fundamental in reality.
Mm,
All
uh,
atheism says is that God does not exist. That's all.
yeah, but if we like analyze what it means to be God, atheism would be negation of that. And if it means, if consciousness is what it means to be God, like a mind, then it would be the negation of mind, or mind being fundamental,
No,
or the
it's not.
source.
It's just saying our God does not exist. It's not saying reality is not fundamentally ideal or anything like that.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if God is defined as a mind, and
Yeah, but that's
atheism is
if
the
I
negation of that.
define. Yeah, but I can define God as my shoes, and then I say, look, atheism is false because I'm wearing shoes right now. That's not interesting. Like language is public, right?
Yeah, and I'm not using an idiosyncratic definition of
Yeah,
God.
but like God has like a public definition, and there's
Yeah,
nothing in the
that is
definition.
that is the definition of God, a mind that created the universe.
Yeah, a mind that could. Yeah, I mean, that's not even the case. I don't think it's debatable whether in the definition of God that is even minded. I don't think that's even accurate.
No, I think it's very accurate. So, for example, let's say if someone said that gravity is God because it's fundamental, or some quantum field is God. I mean, we would laugh at that because gravity or quantum fields are not conscious. So how could it be God? So a mind is a necessary condition for being God.
I don't think so. Like, think about it this way. What's the most popular tradition of theism?
You mean like Christianity, or what do you mean?
No, I mean, it's classical theism, right?
With divine simplicity.
What was that, Spencer?
What's the most popular tradition of theism?
What do you mean most popular? I don't know what you mean.
Like you have classical theism, you have process theism, you have neoclassical theism.
Uh-huh. You asked me like what type of theism is most popular?
Yeah, like what's like the standard popular one, or like one of the most popular ones?
I mean, in the Western world, it would be like the theistic God with the omni properties.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you actually examine classical theism, which is the most popular view, they don't actually take God to be a mind.
I think it's implicit. I think it's so obvious that it's not even mentioned.
Like, if you take people like Avicennians and Akbarians and others, they don't really take God to be a mind. When they say things like God is omniscient, they're saying you can only predicate that by analogy. It's not univocal. They don't take God to be a mind, in the sense that we're conscious or that there's consciousness.
Yeah, I would disagree with that.
And that's like the most, well, it's not something that you can disagree with really, because remember, language is public, right?
No,
And
yes,
so-
it is, because I've read Avicenna and I know his views.
Well, I mean, you can have read Avicenna and misunderstood him. I'm just saying, in those traditions, they take that God is like so radically different that you can only predicate of him through analogy. And God is like radically simple as well. So God isn't really like a minded being in those traditions, at least not minded being as we're minded. And he's only gonna have like mental aspects in the analogical sense, not in the univocal sense. And if that's the most popular tradition of theism, right, you cannot say that it's in the definition of God that he's a minded being, when the most popular tradition of theism doesn't hold God to be a minded being.
I mean, are you talking about the philosophical God, or are you talking about like the average understanding of the theistic God, like the popular notions?
Well, now I'm talking about God as in like the field of philosophy of religion
Yeah,
or the
because
realm.
first you said the most popular, like that
Yeah,
that
but
would
the most popular in like an academic
Catholicism.
traditional setting.
answer. You're breaking up a lot. I mean, we can barely hear
No,
you.
you not hear me?
Like I think that if you're talking about like some kind of a colloquial definition of God, like what your grandma takes to be a God, I think they just hold a God is just like a creator, right? There's like not much more to it than just a creator. Like I don't think even your grandma holds a God is like a triune being, right?
Yeah,
But
but
He's an agent, though, right? Minimally, he's an agent.
I mean, there's like a lot of people who reject personal theism. You know, like classical theists don't hold God to be like a personal being.
He's not an agent.
Yeah, that's correct. In the classical theistic sense, he's not like really an agent.
Yeah,
He's not
I'm
really
sure I
like
agree with
anything.
that.
what did you say, Flinser?
Like God doesn't like ponder, infer, have you know, those classical theists don't think God has those things. God doesn't have like desires. So God can't be an agent in the classical theism.
It's
mean,
like saying
yeah.
anything that the only thing that can be predicated of God can be done so analogically. Right? So there's nothing that we can say that he's really like in a univocal sense. It's only in an analogical sense.
Well, then, like, what would follow from that? Let's say that's the only way we can approximate God is analogically. So, like, what follows from that, though?
Well, it follows that God is not an agent.
He's a schmagent.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a mind. At best, he has a schmind.
And who knows what that is.
But the point with this is just that Cosmic Man wanted to say it's in the definition of God that he is a mind. And I said that can't be accurate if the most popular tradition of theism doesn't hold God to be a mind. Because remember, language is public; it's not private, right? Or else
Right?
it-
How are you determining which is quote most popular? Like, what is delineating that?
Well, I'm just thinking through through history and contemporary. Like if you look at contemporary, it seems to be like an even divide between neoclassicals, people like Plantinga, Craig, Mullins, and classical theists, people like Koons and Proust and Phaser and others.
Right. So
Whereas,
you're kind of is this sort of limiting it to like academic circles, or because I think the most popular form of theism is Christianity, and that God's an agent.
well, no, not really. I don't think so. I mean, it's a difficult question because remember, what's the most popular sect or group in Christianity?
Catholics.
It's Catholics, and in Catholicism, absolute absolute divine simplicity is a dogma. And under ABS, God can't be an agent or a person. I mean, obviously,
And it's also true under like classical Islam, and
Yeah.
classical Judaism.
Right. But don't they
holds to
posit
divine simplicity?
right? Don't they posit that God is like omnibenevolent? Like how can you
Yeah,
be
by
how can you be
predication.
good but not be an agent? Like morals are properties of agents.
Well, he's not good and he's not omniscient univocally, only analogically.
Hmm.
All right. Well, then I guess. So is the issue that we can't make this approximation beyond and analogically, and therefore we can't say anything about God. We can't even maybe give provide an approximate conception of God.
That's right. Well, and also earlier, this was just that Cosmic
Well, you
Man
can't-
was
you
saying
can't- you
that
can get to
atheism, means you can't suppose that that the universe is fundamentally mental. And
Also,
Venus
another
is just
thing-
pushing back on that.
Like in these traditions, negative theology was very popular. If you're familiar with what that is, you can say what God
Apophatic.
isn't. You can say what God isn't, but you can't say what God is. You can at best only say what God is analogically. But my whole point with this is just that it's problematic to say that in the definition of God, God is a mind, if the most popular form of theism doesn't hold God to be a mind.
Yeah, I mean that's a claim you're making. Can you actually back that up? Like, what theologians have said that God is not a mind?
Well, they
Must
say
be-
you can't predicate. Well, they say that you can't say anything of God univocally. You can only say that analogically. That means that what that entails is God is not a mind.
Maybe it's just implicit. I mean, amongst like it's something that's so obvious that it's not even spelled out.
No, that's not what it means. When you deny that God is not a mind univocally, when they say you can't say anything univocally of a God, you can't. That's to deny that God is a mind. That's like an entailment. So that what they say is you can only speak analogically of God having knowledge, of God having goals, of God acting. So that what that means is God doesn't actually act, God doesn't actually have knowledge, God doesn't actually have goals, but he has something like goals at best. He has something like knowledge at best, but he doesn't actually have knowledge. And so God doesn't actually have a mind. At best you could say maybe he has something like a mind, but not actually a mind. That's the whole point with analogical predication.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I know about that tradition, but that's usually talking about like God's essence being unknowable and not having any properties. But in his like interaction with the world, we ascribe properties to God. So there's a
No, they
distinction
don't
between.
believe God has properties.
Yeah, in his essence, they say he doesn't have properties.
No, but that's like in his essence, and he is something else. God is identical to his essence. Everything about God is identical to his essence, and God doesn't have properties. In their metaphysics, God doesn't have properties.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that's only insofar as they're talking about the essence, not in the way God acts in the world.
God's
he's-
acts are identical to his essence.
Yeah.
You can't separate
Those
his.
acts have attributes.
They don't have properties.
Yeah. What
Because
do you mean?
if the acts have properties, then the essence has properties because the acts are identical to the acts.
Yeah, but that would be speaking at different levels in theology. So they wouldn't predicate maybe anything about the essence, but that doesn't mean that God does not manifest his attributes in the world.
If by attributes you mean properties, God doesn't have properties in that metaphysics.
Yeah,
God can't
that
have.
would only be true about the essence.
No, but you can't say it's true of the essence, but it's not true of something else. When the essence is identical to everything else. That's the thesis of absolute divine simplicity.
Yeah, but are you saying that people like, I don't know, Aquinas, Avancina, they say that God does not have any properties and they stop there? Like they don't qualify it further and say in regards to the essence?
I don't understand your question. Can you
That's
repeat
not
it?
my reading of. Yeah, I mean, from my reading of people like Avicenna, Ibn Arabi, those that I'm familiar with and that ascribe to divine simplicity, when they talk
Yeah.
about the essence, they say it's unknowable. But when they say when it comes to God's act in the world, he reveals his attributes, and those attributes are identical to the essence, but they are not like we can only speak of them as so far as they're revealed actions of God. So they wouldn't say God does not like manifest any attributes.
I don't. So just give me 1 second. I just need to do something quickly.
I'm just saying they make a distinction
Well,
between
Fancy,
the
you can,
essence.
we can talk to him while I just fix something quickly.
Like classical theists deny that God has a will or an intellect or has knowledge. Like those are things that agents have.
Yeah, they don't believe that has any of those.
Yeah, but like the consequences of ADS are that like God doesn't change, he doesn't deliberate, and his will is going to be identical to his essence, right? So God's never, he's like pure act, right? He's never going to like consider alternatives or move from a state of like not knowing to knowing. He like eternally knows in a non, what are they use like a discursive, a non-discursive, non-discursively. That's how he knows.
I'm not sure. I don't even really subscribe to that kind of stuff. I think it's just academic. I think I don't know. Let's say we just dispense with that. I mean, maybe Cosmic has a different understanding of God, or I do, and we're not wed to this really strict classical theistic version or whatever this is. This really high academic, like Catholic notion of God. So, like, how could we move forward?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, he was just saying that the idea of God doesn't necessarily entail that it's a mind. When
Well,
he
that
was
depends
saying
on
that
your
the
conception.
vast majority of believers don't think that God has a mind that's in any way comparable to how humans understand the word.
Yeah, I would dispute that. I think the vast majority is referring to a particular academic circle. I think most people think that God has a mind or he's personable, and I would just reject those restrictions.
Yeah, that he has intentions and all that. I mean, I
You
may
don't want to say that.
the philosophical God, notion of God. I mean, it would be that type of a God without like any attributes. It may be true, but I would dispute that. But if you think about it, most people do not view God that way.
Yeah, God can't have intentionality, Cosmic Man, because then he would have propositional, like, mental states.
Mhm.
And that would entail a contradiction. Grimm's paradox of omniscience, actually.
Well, hello, Clark.
Hey, Clark.
Clark is a funny guy, but the point. Sorry, Theo. Just to understand you, what did you say that like you're not wedded to? Just so I get your point.
Yeah, I'm saying it seems like, I think Cosmic is a Muslim, so I don't think he's wed to this particular understanding of God.
Is that true?
I'm not particularly settled on this strictly philosophical notion of God. And so it's kind of like, how could we move forward? Like, it seems like we're being blocked with a conception of God that we don't actually hold.
No, but
Maybe other
you can
people do,
reject-
but
no, you can reject ADS or classical theism. That is fine. Like a lot of people do. A lot of lay people do. A lot of academics do. I'm just saying that language is public, so you can't just like idiosyncratically define God however you want.
But that is not idiosyncratic. I mean, to
Yeah, I
say
don't
that what some philosophers or at the highest level, like Aquinas and I don't know Avicenna and all that, that their definition of God is the mainstream one would be false.
No,
So
I'm
it's
not
not
saying.
idiosyncratic.
I'm not. No, you're missing the point. I'm not saying that their God is the mainstream point. What I'm saying is classical theists, neoclassical theists, process theists, and other tradition of theists. When they're talking about God, they mean the same thing. What they're disputing the metaphysics of God. They're not engaged in linguistic inquiry, what the term means. So the point is, whatever God means, the semantics of it can't exclude one of the major theories over another, right? Semantics is something popular, right? But what actually is the nature of God, or what, in philosophy we call the real definition of God, as opposed to like the nominal definition of God, that's like up for dispute. Is God simple, or is he not simple? Is he constituted or is he not constituted? Is he uniform or is he multi-personal? Those are like substantive debates, but those are not semantical debates, right? Those are debates about the essence or nature of God. Those are like a posteriori, you could say a posteriori or non-linguistic disputes about God, metaphysical disputes about God. But I'm just saying, whatever God means, that meaning cannot exclude a major tradition of theism, if not the most popular tradition in theism, which is classical theism. And if you say by definition God is a mind, you're excluding the largest group of theism, the largest tradition of theism. Sorry, I don't want to say group, the largest tradition of theism today and through history, which is classical theism.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's accurate actually, because are you saying that according to most theists, like philosopher,
Are you
theist,
talking late?
does not have any attributes.
Sorry, are you asking about most theists as in lay people, or
No, not lay people. Academics.
Do you mean throughout
academics-
history or
I
as a snapshot in time right now?
I mean, whatever he meant by it. When
like
he
if
said,
you're talking about today amongst academics, I don't know what most academics hold to, but classical theism is a large group. If it's not the largest, it's definitely the second largest amongst academics. Maybe neoclassicalism is.
and are
maybe
you
they're
saying
more-
that those people, they don't say anything about God?
they only speak about, like, the people who are committed to this tradition, to the classical theist tradition, they only speak about God analogically, yes, not univocally. Negatively and analogically, they don't speak about
And
God.
that would mean they
univocally.
don't ascribe any attributes to God. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, univocally they don't. Yeah.
And by univocally, you mean what?
You don't know what univocal means? Like,
No.
by univocal, I mean, like, when I say cosmic man is a being and God is a being, I mean the same thing. I mean the same thing about being in both cases. When I say cosmic man has a mind and God has a mind, I mean the same thing about mind in those two cases.
Oh no! I mean that's obvious. Yeah. I mean, so they would say that when we say God has knowledge, we don't mean knowledge in the sense of human knowledge. Yeah, I get that.
No,
but-
no, you're missing the point. It's not human knowledge or animal knowledge or this knowledge or that knowledge. They say God when they say God doesn't have knowledge in a univocal sense. Whatever knowledge is taken to be, God doesn't have that. God only has something like that you can ascribe to God analogically. But univocally, God does not have knowledge.
Yeah, but
And you
that's
can never
what-
pin down what it's like.
You're not saying
What part of
you're
it
not
is
saying
like-
something trivial like maybe God's knowledge is more advanced or something than human knowledge. That's not what we're
That's
talking
not
about.
what I said. I said it's not like our knowledge. That's what I said.
We're not talking about likeness. We're talking about semantics here. That's why I said mean the same thing. Like I can say, look, animals have, like, your dog has a mind, and you have a mind. I mean the same thing about mind there, but the human minds might be like vastly more advanced than dogs' minds or something. But I still mean the same thing about the word mind. But when it comes to God, it doesn't mean the same thing. It's not univocal.
At all.
They deny univocal predication of God in that tradition. They only believe you can speak about God negatively or analogically. And that's a major tradition throughout history and today in theism. That's classical theism. That's the view of Augustine, Aquinas, Avicenna, Anselm.
Yeah,
And then you
I
have
think
neoclass-
that's true.
and then you
Yeah,
have
I think that's true.
neoclassical.
Like they say that we cannot like predicate anything about God. We can only talk about like what God is not.
Analogical. Yeah, what God isn't, or you can talk about him analogically. Yeah. That's the mainstream view of theism, yeah. Throughout history and today. And then you have neoclassical theists like Leibniz, like Descartes, like Plantinga, like Craig, who think you can speak about God univocally. But the point is, I'm not saying one is right and the other is not. I don't even believe in God, right? But what I'm saying is, whatever the definition of God is, it can't take a side of one over the other. Because those two mean the same thing about God. They're just debating the nature of God. They're having debates like, does God have a constituent ontology or does he have a non-constituent ontology? Is he, uniform or is he multi-personal? Things like that. Is he temporal or is he atemporal?
And your claim is that when I say God is a mind that created the universe, that's an idiosyncratic definition.
Yeah. And the evidence of that is it would exclude a major tradition of theism.
That doesn't make it idiosyncratic, though. It just makes it a competing definition.
Well, when you say a competing definition, think about what definitions are supposed to compete over. Like when you pick up, like, what are lexicographers doing when they're giving you definitions in the dictionary? They're just, because it's not like there is a fact of the matter what words means. It's not like there's like some kind of a normativity. This is the correct meaning of this word, and this is the incorrect meaning of this word. Like you can define things however you want. I can define God as my shoe. The point with like lexicographers is they're trying to capture what people mean about terms, the folk meaning of terms. What is the meaning? What's the folk meaning of chair? What is the folk meaning of tables? And if I come up with a hypothesis and I say, look, the meaning of X is Y, and I can point out that like a large population of Earth uses Y in such a way that this definition would mean that they're not talking about Y, they're talking about something else. That's going to be evidence against the hypothesis that like X is Y. So what I'm saying is, if your definition of God excludes a large tradition, the largest tradition of theism, then that just means that that definition doesn't capture actually what people mean about God. At least not in,
And when you say people, you mean like philosophers and academics?
Yeah, but
I don't think that means it's idiosyncratic though, because idiosyncratic is it just relates to like how these particular people, it doesn't match their description, but it's not, it just matches another one. It just seems to be just another competing conception that's out there. It's another live hypothesis.
we're not talking about live hypothesis, we're talking about semantics. The point is,
Yeah, but it's a live conception. There's a group of people that are classical theists, but there's a lot of other people who aren't. And their conception of God is not idiosyncratic. It's just another conception that's on the table.
but conceptions are not semantics. You have to make the distinction between meaning and your theory of God, right? I agree. There's many theories of God, but that's not what we're disputing here. We're disputing here the meaning of God.
Right, but you're saying that like Cosmic Man's understanding of God is idiosyncratic in relation to what?
No, what I'm saying is, if he provides a definition of God, which we can show this is not how the term is being used by a large number of people, then that just means, I think maybe idiosyncratic.
Idiosyncratic means unusual. It's like an unusual. It's out of step. It's not common. And I would say Cosmic Man's notion of God or mine's pretty similar. It's very common. It's just not classical theist. It's not a classical theistic conception.
But you have to, when you say conception there, do you mean semantics or do you mean theory?
I mean, I think conception just really is semantical. It kind of just breaks down into that. Like what words mean, what ideas mean. I'm not sure I see the difference really.
Let's just move away from the term idiosyncratic, which I take to mean particular to an individual or something. Like this is just how Cosmic Man defines or something. Because maybe
I usually think it means like it's like a minority. It's an unusual view, or that's what I take
That's
idiosyncratic.
how I understand it also. That it's using a term in a way that it's not usually used.
It'd be like saying like the God. My conception of God is a shoe. That would be idiosyncratic because it's like that's only particular to me. But most people don't. You know what I mean? That's.
I mean, it is still idiosyncratic, but let's not boggle over the term idiosyncratic, because I think I can make the point in another way. Think about it this way: if I come to you and I say it's the definition of a chair, and in the definition of chair I include a redness, that it's like a red thing, right? And then you point out to me that most people, when they talk about chairs, they talk about chairs having like multitudes of colors. Does my definition of chair as something that is red, does that now succeed to capture the folk meaning of chair, or like how people use chair? Right.
No, I think in that case, probably not. But
Right.
I'm thinking of like it seems like this is sort of the way we're framing this is it's almost artificial or it doesn't really capture what's going on because it's almost like we're saying the Catholic understanding is like the predominant understanding, maybe within Christendom, but even there it's like it's nuanced. It's like if you ask most Roman Catholics, do they hold to like classical theism? Probably not. I think maybe officially in some academic sense they do, but What about the Eastern Orthodox? What about like Protestants? And then
Sure,
if you
but I
group all
think
those together with Muslims, like you have a very large group of people who have a completely different conception of God, and that's definitely not idiosyncratic at all. That's
no,
just,
but I
you
think
know what I mean?
when you say conception of God, I don't take that to be semantical. The point that I'm making is your grandma and the academic philosopher and the Catholic and the Christian and the Jew and the Muslim, they all mean the same thing when they say the word God. What they differ on is what theory of God is. What is the nature of God? Right? They dispute things. Is he uniform, multi-personal? Is he radically simple or is he not? Does he have energies or does he not have energies? Is he temporal or is he not temporal? This I take to be conceptions of God or theories
Yeah, but
of
a
God.
conception is just what you mean by the word. They don't mean the same thing. Like a Jew
That's
doesn't
what
mean the
I'm.
same thing by the word God as a Christian or a Muslim.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm.
and that's where it comes into semantics. It boils down to what you mean by the word, and
Yeah.
that's the concept itself.
See, that's what I'm disputing. I'm saying all those people mean the same thing about God, and the term God is a public one. It's not like a private one.
How do
And
they mean the
that's
same thing though, V? Like how does like cosmic man doesn't mean the same thing by God that a classical theist means by it. So how do they mean the same thing? That's kind of
well,
like that's the whole reason he's kind of arguing or pushing back because he does not mean God in this like Catholic sense or this classical theistic sense. He
well.
means
I think
something different.
no. I think cosmic man might just be confused about like the separation between semantics and conception. But I take it that if your grandma asked, because in everyday colloquial language, we ask people, "Do you believe in God?" and they say yes. Like when your grandma asks the academic, "Do you believe in God?" and he says yes. Or when you ask a philosopher, "Do you have an argument for God's existence?" and they say yes. I take it that you're using the meaning. The meaning there is set or fixed. You're not talking past each other. It's not like when I ask somebody, "Do you believe in God?" I'm asking him, "Do you believe I have shoes?" And he takes God to be something else. The point is, the meaning of God is uniform. What these people are disputing is the nature of God. That's what they dispute on and have debates on. And maybe the layperson has a different nature of God than the philosophers do. But the
What is
meaning
the
is the
definition
same
of
thing.
God? Do you have a definition?
I think so. I think it's if you just stick to um, I think lay people, it's probably going to be something as thin as maybe like a creator of the universe or sustainer of the universe. It's just going to be something that
Just
thin.
disputing me using the term mind. If I just said creator of the universe, you would be fine with that.
Yeah, like a creator or sustainer. I think like at the very thin, that's like what God is, like sustainer or container or worthy of worship, like a creator that's worthy of worship. Something like it's just gotta be
But right,
something
like
very,
how
very.
would
It's
you
just gotta be something very, very thin.
right? How would you speak of like creator in non-personal terms? Like what would distinguish that between just a cause, an impersonal cause?
Sorry, one more time.
Like what would be the distinction between this creator of the universe and just an impersonal cause of the universe? It seems like you'd have to posit some
That
kind
was
of
what I was actually telling
agency.
Divinity
Well, I
earlier. So I
mean, a
told them
creator
that, for
doesn't have
example, if
to.
someone said the quantum fields is like sustaining the universe, or the quantum field generated the universe, I mean, no one would take that, or gravity, take that to be God because it's impersonal. It doesn't have a
Exactly.
mind.
But I mean, the point is, look, a major tradition in theism that believes in God takes God to be impersonal. Right? There's debates between personal theists and non-personal theists. Right? And they're having a
Would it
substantive
be correct under that? I mean, that understanding to
because they're
take
not. Look,
quantum
when
fields to
when
be God?
look
If we like philosophically or scientifically established that
but you're
the
not establishing semantics. That's the thing.
no, but
Semantics has
wait,
nothing to do with what
let
you
me just finish
establish.
the question. So, if we establish, like through science or philosophy, that quantum field X generated the universe, would people then call that God? Under your notion of God?
So do you mean if like we came to find that like what gave rise to the universe is fields or something.
Yeah,
So why
a new
wouldn't the
quantum
fields? Why
field
wouldn't
that
the
someone
fields?
discovered.
But the fields would themselves be part of the universe.
No, that we would come to the conclusion that quantum field X generated all the other fields. Like it generated
But it
everything.
is presumably in a like where is this thing that you're talking about?
It's just a hypothetical, man. Come on.
No, but where is it though? The point with like
Yeah,
God
it's
is like,
outside of the universe. It's outside of this dimension of the universe, or but it generated this
yeah, but
universe.
I mean, like if it's like in a multiverse or something, are we just talking about the multiverses? Like God is whatever created the
No, I
multiverse.
said
I think he
another
just means
dimension.
some impersonal metaphysical ground of the universe. I think that's just what he's talking about. It doesn't have to be a quantum field or anything like that.
Yeah,
Just
I'm just
some
saying
un-
if it's anything quantum, it's going to be in the universe. If you're just saying that there's like a pocket universe that's generated in some like
No,
outside of
not necessarily. Not that you're just presupposing that. I mean, it could be the case that this quantum field X exists in another dimension.
yeah, but
that is
what
actually.
I'm saying is the universe is all of the dimensions. Like you can like carve up parts of the universe and call them pocket universe or something like. But when people are talking about the
So by
creator,
universe, you just mean everything.
yeah, that's correct. The point is like.
But wait, then that's problematic because if you then claim that God is the one that
it's not
created,
everything. It's not everything unqualified. The point is like everything that's like physical or whatever, like physical.
okay, so now you're qualifying it. So this quantum field would not be physical then. Let's say that
Wait, why would
quantum
it be
field
physical?
X. It's just a hypothetical, man.
I don't understand what if it's quantum, it is physical. Like it's like an oxymoron to say it's quantum, but it's not physical.
I'm saying, let's
But look,
imagine
I mean, the
this
point is-
this quantum field X, or just call it X, exists outside of this universe. It's
I
not
thi-
with. It's another
I don't-
dimension.
Yeah, but look, what I'm saying is, when you're saying the creator of the universe there is supposed to be like all that is within like space time, all that is physical, all that is material. God is supposed to like transcend that. But I'm saying if you're talking about things like quantum spaces, quantum vacuums, those are going to be part of the universe. But I think if there is something like, I don't know, the platonic good or something like that I don't know emanates the universe or something, but it is not personal or it's not like a personal thing, but it's like, I don't know, like Plato's good or something, then yeah, that could be worthy of the title God. Yeah.
So you believe that would like qualify for a God candidate?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think so. I don't think anyone would
Like
take
just
that
think
to be
about
God.
something like the Tao in Taoism or something. Right?
Okay.
Unless you want to say those people don't believe in God. But like what I'm saying is, if you define God, if you
Yeah, but
define
the
God,
Tao, isn't the Tao like, isn't that a mind?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, maybe.
But the point is, if you define God, as a mind, then you're just gonna be saying things like classical theists don't believe in God, which is obviously absurd because they do. It's a major tradition.
Yeah, but
in
the
theism.
problem is if you don't define God as a mind, then anything could, in principle, be a candidate for God.
I don't think so.
That's
I don't
fundamental.
think
That's
so.
fundamental.
I don't think so. At the very least, it needs to be a creator or a sustainer or something that emanates.
Yeah.
And it needs to be. It needs to
That's
be.
Yeah,
what
but
I'm saying.
a creator could just collapse into a cause, though, and that's kind of the point Cosmic Man is making. It's like
exactly.
you can
That's-
just have this impersonal cause, but why call that God? Just
but
call
I
it a
think there
cause.
is. I think there is going to be more, even if it's going to be a thin concept. There's going to be more to it. Like I'm including. I'm including. It's going to have to be transcendent in some sense, and I think also like if you do like, it's supposed to be in some sense worthy of worship, of reverence, or something like that.
But
I mean-
that's not bare theism, right?
Sorry,
That's not bare theism.
what do you mean that that's not bare theism?
I mean, if you start adding all these properties to it, like it's like you worshiping it and all that. I mean, worthy of worship or whatever you said.
I mean, I think you can make a case that because look, people want to make a distinction between God and the demiurge, right? And between God and some like evil creator of the universe or something, right? There's supposed to be like more to God than mere creator or sustainer or emanator, but that is gonna be part of the definition. It's going to be creator, transcendent, but you also want to include something in that, such that, something like a demiurge, or just like, a very powerful thing or something would not qualify as God. But what you want to include in the definition of God is not something that's going to exclude any major tradition or any popular usages of people who believe in God. But you also don't want to make it so broad that, things like, as example as you gave, like, quantum fields, or like demiurge, or I don't know, the universe itself or something could be God. And
Yeah,
it
I
might be
think
tricky. It might be
I think
tricky.
cosmic.
Like, just think about this. Like, it's very tricky to define what a sandwich is. It's very tricky to define like what a chair is. Maybe we don't have a successful definition of chair or sandwich. But whatever the definition is, it can't exclude things like hamburgers, and it can't exclude things like, wheelchairs. That's my point.
Right. I think Cosmic's point, though, is like you have to posit, like, I think it's unavoidable that what most people mean by God is some kind of agent or something with agent like qualities. Because you could posit like an unmoved mover or something. It's just this impersonal ground of all being. And it's like people would not call that God, because usually when people, even a thin understanding of God has some personal attributes involved. It's got to have that. Otherwise, people just don't call that God, And I think that's what Cosmic's point was.
Otherwise, it
I don't,
wouldn't
I,
be
I
like
don't, I don't know
theology.
about this. I don't know about like this personal. I don't know about this like personal aspect. But that has to be like included.
But what makes it theology? Like, if it's like impersonal, it's just like a force or something, then it would be in the scientific domain of discourse, and it has nothing to do with theology, as far as I understand it. Like, then the conversation would be like, what is the evidence for this unmoved
It's not.
mover, or this like quantum field X or whatever?
I don't think so. Like, just think about like Neoplatonism or Taoism or all these other traditions. I think that like God is some kind of a force or something that like out of which the universe emanates.
Yeah, but do they really believe that it's an impersonal, like mindless force? I'm not sure about that. You're saying
Yeah, like
that's their
Avicenna,
notion, but I'm not sure.
Avicenna and Plotinus believes that. He believes that both of them believe that the first intellect emanates from the one, but that the one isn't. But the
Did
one.
they actually say that? I mean, did
Yeah,
they say that
Yeah,
specifically?
they say that explicitly. Avicenna says that explicitly. Yeah,
What does he say?
he says that the first intellect emanates from God.
No,
Like
that's not my question. Do they specifically say that it is not mind, that it's mindless?
Yeah. When the point is, if you understand the theology, like the difference between like Thomists and Avicennians is that the Thomists want to include the intellect in God, but they want to do so in an analogical manner. Whereas what Avicenna and Plotinus do is that they take God to not be an intellect, but they instead take the intellect or the logos to emanate from God. That's the first emanation from God. And
I
the
don't think
intellect
that's
is
an
not
answer to my
identical to God.
question. I mean, it could be the case that the intellect or the logos is not what they would define as mind. So my question is very specific. Do they explicitly reject that God is a mind or has a mind? Explicitly, do they do that?
I
Or
mean,
is it for interpretation?
No,
The way I understand it is they do it. They just deny all those features in an anthropological or anthropomorphical sense. It's
No.
like that's the. I think that's where they're trying to make a distinction between like a creature and creator. But I don't think they'd say that he has no mind.
If you're asking, does he like a word for word, bar for bar, sentence for sentence have a sentence in the work that says God is not a mind? Probably not. But if you understand his theology, if you understand Avicenna's
That would
theology,
be then interpretation, right? Like your interpretation of him, or some scholar interpretation of him.
that's like a popular standard interpretation of Avicenna.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily true. I mean, I've read Avicenna. Now, obviously not everything from him, but that's not how I understand Avicenna. I understand him as a mystic. Do you know that he made actually commentaries on the Quran? Like he's even a mufassir, in the Quranic
Yeah, but
tradition.
that doesn't matter. Like that's an interesting. Yeah, he also wrote like Hanafi works. But what I'm saying is,
the point is then, it's your interpretation of Avicenna.
No, but I don't understand. Like, what does him writing on the Quran have anything? Like, look, Aquinas wrote about.
No, but you're
Aquinas,
saying he didn't believe that God is a mind or had a mind, but
Yeah, he doesn't believe
it
that-
doesn't
he doesn't
say that
believe-
explicitly, right?
he doesn't believe the one has intellect. He believes the intellect emanates from the one.
Yeah, but are you saying that when he uses the word intellect, he means mind? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, those are not synonymous.
I mean, if you look, because I don't want to like have like a side debate on Avicenna, but if you want, I could send you things on this later, because just like go through like the SEP and finding like people explaining the difference between the kind of radical simplicity that's present in Avicenna as opposed to the one you find in Aquinas, and then the difference is like while Aquinas locates it in God. Avicenna and Plotinus locates it as the first emanation of God. So they don't
I'm
actually
not rejecting that. I'm saying that you're saying that the intellect is identical to mind. That's what it's meant
Yeah.
by mind. I'm saying no, that's not my understanding of the intellect or the logos.
I don't like what do
It's
you
just
mean?
the logos to me is just this
Uh-huh.
logical principle that the rest of reality like emanates from or comes out of. That's how I understand the logos. It's not necessarily a mind.
Yeah, the point is like all minds, all reason comes from the first intellect, emanates from the first intellect.
Yeah, and you're
But-
saying the first intellect
And the first
is
intellect-
understood as mind in their
And the first-
theology.
And the first intellect emanates from the one, but the one is not a mind under Avicenna's view.
Yeah, but again, that's your interpretation, right?
Yeah, but
It
look,
doesn't explicitly say that.
I mean, if you understand his theology, you're gonna understand that's what he's saying. But I could send you stuff on this like later. All I'm saying is, in these popular traditions, once you understand them correctly, if you say by definition God is a mind, you'd be saying that these people don't believe in God, which I think is incorrect.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Avicenna said that God is a mind.
So Venus is Christian
From my
now.
understanding, it's implicit in his understanding of God.
All I'm saying is, if you're just talking on the level of semantics, like semantics shouldn't side with like one view over the other view, right? Because all these people are debating about the nature of the same thing, so they have to use the semantics. So they must mean the same thing, or else they would just be talking past each other, right? It's if I define God as my shoe, and Veritas defines God as his car, and I'm saying no, God is gray, and he's saying no, car is red. We're just talking past each other. We're not actually having a substantive dispute. But the point is, classical theists and neoclassical theists and process theists and other theist traditions are having a substantive dispute about God's nature. And so it can't be in the meaning of God that it excludes one of these sides of the debates. That's the point that I'm making. So do you want to say something, Veritas? I think it was like speaking while I was speaking. Or did you want to
I'm saying, since when did you become Christian, bro?
I'm not a Christian.
Hmm?
No, I'm not a Christian.
Yeah, I was trolling. But yeah.
What are you, by the way, V?
No, I'm an atheist. I'm just like a boring atheist.
Are you born Muslim or Christian?
I mean, my parents are Muslim, but
Okay. Where your parents from?
Morocco.
Oh, okay. Labas?
There's no way your parents are Muslim.
Yeah, my parents are Muslim. Wait,
You
where you
came
from,
out like this.
Cosmic?
Shkadir, Labas?
Are you Algerian?
No, my wife is زوجة مغربية.
And why are you?
I'm Iranian.
Oh, okay.
What's up, Inference Engine?
Yeah,
Wait,
but you
so
want to
Cosmic,
prove
are
that
you-
God
are
is
you
false?
Are you like a Shia?
No, I'm Sunni. I'm Sunni Sufi.
You want to prove that God doesn't exist?
Who?
But Veritas, what's your understanding of God? I mean, number one, do you believe we can define God? And if yes, how would you define God?
Actually, you should ask Avicenna because he's a Thomas. Well, maybe sympathetic to Thomism, but like he can tell you he doesn't believe God has knowledge or desires or agency or any of those things.
Yeah, again, I think that they make a distinction between God's essence and his attributes.
Just ask him. Ask him. He can explain this to you, like constitutional theology and analogical predication and all that stuff.
Ask who?
Veritas. He's like
Oh,
a
Veritas.
he's a
Okay.
catechumen Catholic Thomist. So you can
Oh,
ask him.
okay.
Well, he's not a Catholic yet. But
Yeah. So Veritas, what do you? I mean, would it be wrong, in your understanding, to say that God is a mind that created the universe, specifically the mind part?
No.
There you go, V.
I mean, you're gonna need more clarification. But you don't think Veritas. You don't think God has a mind in some kind of univocal manner.
No, I do think God has a mind. What is it?
Univocally.
Univocally, no.
Yes, you don't think God has beliefs and knowledge and desires in a univocal manner. You think he has something like that, but you don't think he actually has beliefs, knowledge, desires, intentional states.
No, not in the way you catch them out. No.
So God isn't a mind, but he's a mind. But you can
That's
like
not how I
analogically say.
define
Well,
a mind.
God does have a mind. We're just equivocating with the word.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's not like univocally, as like I have a mind, you have a mind. Creatures.
Yes,
have a mind.
analogical. Yeah, analogical.
Yeah, it's analogical. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's so Veritas. You didn't find any problem with me saying that God is a mind that created the universe.
That. Well, I don't have any problem with saying that God has a mind.
What about God is a mind? What about that?
I don't even know what that means. You
That,
want to say something like
That he
he's the
has
Logos.
experience. That it is something it is like to be God.
It is something it is like to be what?
To be God. Like take a stone. It's nothing it is like to be a stone, but is it something it is like to be God?
Analogically, yeah. Univocally, no.
Does that mean that like in his essence he doesn't have any experiences? But I mean, what does that mean? Flesh that out for me.
It just means that God,
He doesn't have like experiences the way that we typically refer to experiences, but he does have full and complete like awareness of himself.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like specific experiences or like contents of experience. I'm talking about the experience itself. And what I mean by that,
Yeah, like the act of experience, right?
sorry, what?
Like the act of experience, right?
I don't think
Experience
it's
itself.
necessarily can be defined as an act. I mean, imagine just perceiving red. I mean, imagine that's the only thing you can like experience. It's not an act to experience red, right?
It's like passive.
yeah, I mean, like by act, all I'm using to denote the word act is just like contrary to potential.
I'm not sure how that relates.
Meaning that it's something that is rather than something that could be, right?
No, I'm talking about something actual. Like imagine an entity X, and the only thing this entity X can experience is red, like the color red, what it feels like to experience red, and nothing else. It's not an act to experience that, right? It's just direct, like non-inferential, direct type of epistemic.
Yeah, I know.
access.
Yeah, that's why I mean like I think we're equivocating on the word act, because by act you think I mean like performing an action. No, what I just mean is it exists rather than doesn't exist.
Okay, it's actual. You mean like it's something
actual, not
okay.
potential.
And do you think that God in his essence has, I don't want to say like a content of it, but it has that it is something it is like to be.
Well, yeah, we have some. There's perfections in God that we derivatively have with some sort of like similarity, but there will still be like analogical derivations, not univocal ones.
By univocal, you just mean that it's not
It
the
wouldn't
way
be the exact
we
same
use
way,
the
yeah.
term. Like when I say I know things, and then I say God knows things. It's not like
Yeah, it's not the
analogous.
exact same way, yeah. No,
It's not
Yeah,
only,
yeah, but
no, but it's not only that it's not like the same way. It doesn't mean the same thing either.
yeah, it doesn't mean the same thing, basically.
That's because that's why you were. That's why I didn't want you to be confused earlier. Cosmic and Theo. It's not like they're saying that it's not like the same. Like God is much greater, much like a larger degree or something.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
it's
talking
it's
about
also that it
degrees.
doesn't mean the same thing, right?
It's just
Yeah,
not in an anthropomorphic sense. But I'm just reading a quote from Phaser. He's not denying. He's not saying that God is impersonal. It's just not reducible. It's not. It's just he's a person, but not like we are. It seems to be what they're trying to get at.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not like he has no mind and he's just impersonal. They're not denying his personhood. It's just not like ours. Which I think Cosmic would
pretty
probably
sure
agree
when
with.
I
God
say-
is not like us.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
But
they don't-
that's not a denial of his personhood though. So
I'm pretty sure Phaser denies personal theism, but I mean, like they still wanna maintain the person talk, but they don't want to like discard that. Like like the Bible talks about God being a person. You could find like creeds and other things that hint to God being person. So they still want to keep that language. They don't want to discard the language. They don't want to eliminate the language, but they wanna like interpret person in some like other sense or something. It's not like a robust sense of person, the way that like neoclassical people take it, like Mullins and Craig and Plantinga and others.
Yeah,
So
but
like strictly speaking, under these traditions, Thomism, Aquarianism, Avicennianism, Plotinus' school, God doesn't have a mind. God is not a person. He doesn't have knowledge, but he has. But they do speak about God having knowledge, God being a mind, being a person, and so on, but only analogically, not univocally. So they don't mean the same thing as we do in every other context when we say mind. And not confuse this anthropomorphism thing. They don't want to say it's not like human things, but like in any setting. Whether you talk about humans, animals,
that would in practice mean that we
it seems
cannot
really
say
counterintuitive.
God.
So when you say counterintuitive, do you mean the view is counterintuitive, or do you mean what I'm saying is counterintuitive?
I think your interpretation there's something I think your interpretation of them is there's probably something slightly off. That's what I would say.
I mean, if you think I'm wrong, you can ask Veritas or G1 here, or I can try to find you some researches on this.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is that
I'm just
you're not
multitasking.
wrong.
I'm just
You're not wrong,
multitasking.
but it's when they say that, they're talking about the essence in particular. Yeah, the essence in most like according to Avicenna, for example, is unknowable. Like you cannot ascribe any properties to the essence, but you can do so when it comes to the acts of God, like the way He interacts with the world. Then His attributes are revealed, and those do emanate from the essence. But they're not the essence.
Well, you have to be clear. What emanates from the essence is not God, but like, well, are you talking about like Avicenna, or are you talking about Aquinas?
I mean, I'm more familiar with Avicenna.
Like under Avicenna's view, the first and the second and the third intellect, they are not God. Those are not God.
Yeah, but they're also not God. Like they're not. They're not separate
under
either,
their
in a
view,
sense.
God, like under their view, the one is God, right? And that the one is the thing that you can't like predicate of. You can only speak like in terms of, in negative
Yeah,
terms. You
and
can
I
only
think
say-
that's the level at which you speak. I think that they wouldn't deny God having attributes at like a lower level, in the hierarchical sense.
Sorry, give me 1 second. So what are you saying, Cosmic Man?
Yeah, I said, I think I agree with you when it comes to the essence, but they would predicate on God when it comes to his lower level, the lower level notion of God, basically, like the way he reveals himself.
No, but he's not. Avicenna didn't believe in like 10 gods. For Avicenna, God, what actually, and you also have to understand this, like when Avicenna is doing philosophy, and when he's doing like other works, he's speaking like differently. But like for Avicenna, what God is, in the philosophical term, what God is the one. Like in the Neoplatonic tradition, God is identical with the good, which is identical with the one. That is God. And what he holds is you can't, of this one here, you can't predicate anything of it, and you can only come to it through negative terms. And Avicenna and Plotinus were even more, as far as I know, and you also have like the Ismailites, and there are like small differences of them. I might make some mistakes here or something, but take me with like a pinch of salt. But they believe that you can't even say that the one exists, because that would be a form of predication. Whereas I think the Thomists, they don't go to these extremes. They actually do say you can't say God exists. But in this tradition, you can't even say that God exists, because that would be a form of predication. And then what they believe is from this one, there is this emanation relations, and from the emanations, what emanates from that, then you can like start talking about predicates and nature and see what they do.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as far as
exactly.
I
And you
know,
want to keep the conversation at the essence.
yeah, but that's what God is. And under this view, the one is not identical with the first intellect, but the first intellect is the first creation or the first emanation from the one.
Yeah, but
And
it's not separate either.
well, it's not separate. Well, your leg is not separate from you, but your leg is not identical to you. But I'm saying the first intellect, it's not separate because it emanates from the one, but it's not identical to the one. And actually, Avicenna was even more extreme in this regard, because Avicenna technically believed that the Quran didn't come from God. He believed that the Quran came from the first intellect, which is not identical to God. But that's like a separate thing. But I'm just saying, if you actually want to talk about his philosophy, they believe God is not the mind. But once you speak of God having mind or beliefs or being a person or acting or being angry or loving or so on, these are just analogical predications. We don't actually mean love or mind or anger or beliefs or anything.
That's the part I'm having trouble with. Are you kind of suggesting that by analogy they just mean like analogically this is just like a human construct? It doesn't map on anything real?
No, I mean it does map on something, but it doesn't mean the same thing. So let me think, because like even
But what you're saying is like it's a complete denial. Like God is not. He's only angry analogically, but he's not really angry. Like when we're saying that we're not mapping onto anything real, it almost sounds like it's just a human construct we're using to describe God, but it doesn't map onto anything real, and that's the part I'm having trouble with.
No, but it's like it's supposed to be picking something, right? It is true that God has a mind, but mind there is being used analogically. But the point is, it's not anger. When we say it's anger, we're not saying, we're saying something else than like what we mean by anger. Like when I say that that dog is angry, or that I'm angry, or the bull is angry, we're using angry there in the same sense. But maybe the way the bull gets angry is different from the way the human gets angry. It's different from the way the dog gets angry, given like our biological makeup. But the semantics is the same. It's univocal. But when you're speaking about God, you don't actually even mean the same thing. But it's just supposed to be something like it, whatever that means. But you're not saying the same thing.
Right. That almost seems. It's either trivial or it's a complete denial of that it maps onto. I mean, I think we speak analogically about like everything, like even in reality, like it's kind of like what Kant was talking about, the noumenal and the phenomenal. It's like, I think, the thing in of itself, it's kind of like, I don't think we have access to that period, even with physical reality. And we kind of make analogical, approximations about the things we see. And I'm like, but that's fine. The things we say analogically actually track pretty well. They explain things, they communicate things quite well. And so it seems trivial. Okay, maybe the same applies to God. We don't really know God in and of himself. But even this analogical, like speaking of God, seems to be, I mean, it communicates something pretty meaningful. And, you know, maybe it's just trivial to me. I don't know. But
Well, I mean, it is. Well, I'm saying it's not vacuous. You're not. Well, they. I mean, I have like a hard time making full sense of what predication, analogical predication, even is supposed to be, because it's not supposed to be equivocal. So equivocal would mean that it's a different meaning. For example, when I say, I lied, I was lying on my bed, and I was lying to Cosmic Man. That's the same word, but it's equivocal, right? It has like two different meanings. One means something like rested, the other means intentionally telling something that is not true. Well, okay, I am healthy and the food is healthy is equivocal, it's not analogical. But like healthy food, healthy urine, healthy body, that's just equivocal, it's not analogical. Analogical is something, it's supposed to be something like a healthy mind and a healthy body would be like an analogy.
Yeah, I mean, going back to how it all started. So you are saying that I shouldn't use the definition, God is a mind that created the universe.
I'm just saying, if you believe that classical theists, neoclassical theists, and all these people are having a substantive debate with each other, then they must mean the same thing. They're just disputing the nature of that thing. Or else they're just talking past each other.
I mean, can you suggest a better definition that I could use?
Well, I mean, think about it this way, right? What's the definition of a chair or a hamburger? Can you give me the definition of a chair or a hamburger? Right? You probably can't. You can probably give me
a functional definition of a chair.
You can give me like a partial definition, but like a full definition is difficult. I think a partial definition of God will be something like a transcendent creator worthy of worship or something like that. That might work. That might be incorrect, but I don't think I have like a complete definition. Just like I don't think I have
Then
one.
how can we have a discussion? I mean, if we don't mean the same thing, like
we can have a discussion because look, 99.99 words you know the meaning of that you use every day. If I ask you to define them, you would not be successful in defining them. But you clearly know them. You clearly know what chair means. You're clearly adequate in using a chair. If I took you to a room and I said point out the chair, you'd like successfully point out all the things that are chairs, even if you can't define it. It's not. I don't think you're required to give a definition in order to understand the word. I think actually giving definition is like a really hard thing. That is a task of experts, and even they struggle with it.
But I think it was relevant in the debate. Because, I mean, if I mean a mind when I talk about God, and I'm debating with someone who does not think God necessarily has a mind, then I don't think we would agree on like the topic at all, because we talk about two different things altogether.
But why is it the case that you when you mean God, you mean mind, as opposed to believing that God exists and God has a mind, and you think that there is evidence, and you think that if your theory of God is true, then the presence of consciousness is evidence for your theory of God. Why this semantical confusion?
I don't think it's confused. Again, because to say that God necessarily does not have a mind, then a quantum field of gravity could be a candidate for.
No, it's not, because look, the point is, if it's the case that whatever God is transcendent, worthy of worship, and a creator, that just excludes things like quantum fields. It excludes.
Now you defined it as an entity that is worthy of worship and whatever else you said.
Yeah, what I'm just saying is the example that I'm giving here is not that if it's not the mind, then it's anything, because it's going to be a bunch of things that might still exclude.
No, I don't mean anything. I mean things that are fundamental.
Personal or impersonal. That's basically
Yeah,
the
but
dichotomy.
still, even if
More
it's
specifically, I meant fundamental things.
yeah, but still, if God, by definition, it can be or cannot be personal or minded, that does not mean God can be a quantum field. Because maybe whatever God is, by definition, God is transcendent. That's going to exclude those things. I'm just saying, if you look at all the big traditions of theism, and of all people, they use the term God. Some commonality, while mind is not going to be a commonality and person is not going to be a commonality, there seems to be like other commonalities that are going to exclude
hey,
things like quantum.
I looked up this quote from Phaser. This is what he says. Quote, that does not mean that God is impersonal, since according to classical theism, there is in God something analogous to what we call intellect and will in us, and other attributes to which presuppose intellect and will, justice, mercy, and love. So I think the point here is that like we can go with this analogy. It's a functional conception because I think we analogize everything, and it's like I think we can move forward with that. And I think we're just getting caught up in like we're just splitting hairs here.
No, because analogy here means something very technical.
But it's mapping onto something. It's not a denial. Like it's not. He's not denying that God is a person, because Phaser just said he's not saying that God is impersonal. It's not a denial of that. It's just not. He's not personal like us. But I think your point might prove too much, because it's like everything we say about God is analogical. Like even God is a creator. He's not a creator like us in any. He doesn't create in any way we know of. So even there, it's like, do we have to deny that God is a creator according to classical theism? Because that's analogical as well. It's like then we can't say anything about God.
No, but you can't say about God in terms of like analogy or negation or negative. You can like negatively analogically talk about God. You just can't in a positive sense.
Yeah, but saying God is a creator is a positive claim about God. You're saying what God is and what He does. But even that would suffer the analogical issue. Well, univocally, He's not a creator, because like we can't comprehend, like we can't actually get to what that means for God to be a creator. It's not like us being creative. It's a completely different thing. So it's like then we can't say anything about God, and that's why I'm having a problem. I don't think your interpretation is that strong.
Let me think about that for a second about because I think in the Thomistic tradition, they're not like radical about the positive side, because they do say God exists, and that's like a univocal predication. It's just for like other things that they're like analogical. So they're not like radical, but on things like personhood and mind and belief and knowledge, about those things they're analogical. But I think there are more. But I think there are more. But I think there are more.
When they say God exists?
Sorry, but in other absolute divine simplicity tradition, like the Ismaili and the Ismaili one, I think they would say what you're saying now. You can't even say God is a creator or that God is worthy of worship, because they also believe you can't even say God exists, because that would be.
When they say God exists, what do they mean by existence there?
Well, by the same thing when I say you exist and I exist and numbers exist and chairs exists and tables.
But you said we cannot like equivocate on God.
Equivocate.
Yeah, you said it's not like analogous.
No, I mean they think you can use analogical, but I'm saying that like in a univocal like the Thomists say you do say God exists, and that's like a univocal, predication. Well, if existence is a predication, I know, like in actual modern, in contemporary analytic philosophy, existence is not taken to be a predicate. But in like scholastic traditions, which the Thomist tradition school is part of, they do take existence to be a predicate. But they believe.
Yeah, but if that is the case, if you say that God exists in the way I exist, I take that to be.
No, but that's where you get confused. Way, it's not. We're talking about semantics here. We're not talking about like way. Like we're not. I'm not saying like the way humans being exist or the way human beings exist.
But
God
didn't you say that just a second ago? Like
no,
God exists in the way you exist.
No,
didn't you say that?
No. I said God exists. Sorry. When I said way, if I use the way there, I mean the meaning of. when I say cosmic man exists, what I mean by exists there, and what I mean when I say numbers exist, chairs exist, tables exist, you can't say God exists with that meaning there. Not in that way or manner or fashion or ontology. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about language, semantics. We're not doing ontology.
Okay, so again, I think I have to ask you again then. So what do they mean when they say God exists?
Who?
Yeah, you refer to Thomists. I think
No,
they
not
say
Thomas.
that.
I think in the Ismaili traditions, they don't believe they don't predicate the existence of God.
No, but you mentioned some group that do predicate existence on God.
Yeah, Thomas do say Thomas do.
Yeah, so that's what I mean then. So when they say that, what
Yeah.
do they mean by existence?
They mean the same thing when they say cosmic man exists.
Yeah, so now you said it again. You said in the same way that cosmic man exists.
Did I say it way or did I say the same thing?
You did say that, yes.
Sorry, let me just ask me the question again. I'm just gonna make sure.
Yeah, what do they mean by existence? What does
They
it mean
mean the
for God
same
to
thing.
exist?
They mean the same thing as when they say cosmic man exists.
Okay, they mean the same thing as when they say cosmic man exists. I don't think that's
I don't think they do.
informative, to be honest. I mean, to me, the way I would interpret that would be, I mean, for me, if I was not conscious, if I didn't have a mind, I might as well not exist. I mean, I wouldn't say I exist if I didn't have a
No, but like,
conscious mind.
look, we're just talking about semantics here. They're not metaphysics. Like God exists independently, you exist dependently, right? But that's metaphysics. That's not semantics. I'm just saying, for the meaning of the word, it is univocal. But when it comes to things like mind, knowledge, beliefs, desires, goals, you can only ascribe those things to God in an analogical way, which means technically he's not actually a mind. He's not actually have beliefs. He doesn't actually have knowledge. He has something like that.
And that is true for, so you're saying that when I say I exist because I have a mind, that is the semantic meaning of existence. And that wouldn't be that couldn't be ascribed to God under the
I think
Thomistic
existence
sense.
I think existence is what usually we call a semantical prime. A semantical prime. Like it's one of those words that we can't define because language is kind of like Legos. We define some words in other words, but there are some words that are like the Lego bricks themselves. Like some words are built off of like other words, right? For example, if I say a car is a vehicle with an engine and wheels. That's like 4 words that I use to define car. But like language bottoms out. There's these fundamental bricks of language, and those are not further definable. And I think words like existence are those semantical primes. It's really hard to define words like existence. Other examples would be time. Let me think.
Okay. V,
Yeah,
hold
what's
on.
up?
What's the argument?
Oh gosh.
We're not talking about the argument in the prompt. We're talking about analogical predication, simplicity. But the thing is, Cosmic Man, going back to the debate that you want to have, I assume you want to debate is consciousness evidence for God, and you want to be running the psychophysical harmony or nomenological.
Why does
actually,
consciousness have to
not
be
the
evidence for
psychophysical
God?
harmony argument. I mean, it is closely linked to that topic. I mean, I may use it, but that's not the primary.
Yeah,
argument.
no. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying like these semantics things is really orthogonal to what you're trying to do. Like, just
I
don't.
guess if someone disagreed with me on the definition of God, I mean, it would just end the debate there, I guess. I mean, if they don't agree that God is a mind that created the universe, I don't know how to go forward. So yeah,
You
that may be an issue.
look, if somebody comes to you and he says, "I don't believe God has a mind," right? Do you think you can have a substantive debate with him, or do you think you're just going to be talking?
No, I don't think I could have, because I mean,
Same
then we
here.
wouldn't talk about the same thing.
Same here. And I wanted to say something. You sort of made the point we're making, maybe implicitly, V. You were talking about existence, like this thin understanding of existence is univocal. Like we all kind of mean the same thing. However, the way it's cashed out, when you actually look at the nature of God's existence, that's where you run into it's not univocal. It's different from ours. And we would just say the same thing about, hey, God is a mind or an unembodied agent. You know, we could kind of,
Not
we
even
could just,
true.
hold on, let me finish.
Yeah.
But we could make some kind of similar move. We're just, just basic definition. However, the nature of it, once you lift up the hood, it's quite different. And so it seems like that'd be enough to just move the conversation forward,
Yeah, but what I think is going on there, because I think existence, I'm not saying this is like the definition of it, but to exist is just to be part of reality or something like that. I'm not saying this is, just to be clear, I'm not saying this is the definition, because I think,
Oh my God.
because I think if I ask you what does it mean to be part of reality, just gonna go back to that, what existence is. So you're not actually saying anything informative. But the point is, God exists, yes, but the thing that you're talking about is like his mode of existence or his manner of existence. But that's not semantics at that point. At that point, you're doing like theory, you're doing metaphysics. And yes, like the ontology of God is obviously going to be different from our ontology. We're going to have a dependent existence, whereas God is going to have a radically different kind of existence. He's going to be independent. But this is not
I mean, I think you could do the
Huh?
same thing about his agency as well. We could,
right.
once you look
Well,
under the hood, it's different, but there's still some commonality there. And I think that's enough to move the
No,
conversation
not
forward.
But you
even.
have to set,
Oh.
yeah, but I think there's a confusion between two things, between saying the nature or the mode of something is different between the two entities, and that the meaning is different. Those are not the same things. In the case of analogical predication, you're saying I don't even mean the same thing, whereas here I'm saying I mean the same thing, but the nature of that thing is different. Whereas I can only exist if I'm being sustained by something external to me. God can exist. God exists, I say, or independent of anything else. But that is not meaning. We're not engaging in linguistic practices here. What we're doing here is doing metaphysics. Whereas in the case of analogical predication, I'm saying I don't even mean the same thing. Like technically, I'm saying that God is, it's not that God's agency is different from ours. The way his existence is different. God doesn't actually have agency at all, technically
Yeah.
speaking.
No, that's
But he
false.
has
God has
something. He has
agency.
something
Yeah, here.
like. But he has
No, that's
something.
not true.
This is where I think you're overstating, V.
Look, if God had agency, if God technically had agency, you would just be able to univocally predicate
Yeah.
everything.
So when we're saying that God has agency, that so it would just pertain to like as human beings, we would say that we have free will, and God would be the freest of us that has free will. So
No,
in
we're
that
not.
sense, God has agency.
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about analogical predication specifically. That's what we're talking about.
Mm.
Because in the Thomistic tradition, you only predicate things like.
Yeah,
will,
okay, so
agency.
I'm not a Thomist fully, maybe Augustinian and Thomist as well. So I can give you I can give arguments as to whichever worldview I hold to.
Noel, are you atheist?
I think she's Catholic.
Am I? Yeah, so I'm a Catholic and I'm a theist. Yeah,
She's
absolutely.
but right
What's
now,
your view? I mean,
but right now
just
she's
interested. Like, what would you
right
say
now.
about my definition of God? Like God being a mind that created the universe.
Wait,
Yeah, so God would not necessarily be a mind in the sense that we recognize the mind to be. So we would say that a mind would be a concept that we in some way recognize to exist, and God is going to be something or someone, whatever you want to classify the said being or person to be outside of our natural understanding. That would be what God is.
Wait, Noella, how many are we in?
That was funny. Yuji, what about you? Would you have a problem with that
No, but I'm
definition?
actually curious, Noella, how many are we in?
What do you mean, how many?
How much did you have to drink today?
Oh no, I haven't drank for like almost maybe 2 months now.
Before today.
No, so I gave up drinking for Lent, so I haven't drank for like almost 2 months. Yeah.
You sound like you're hella drunk though.
Really?
Yeah, you were like slurring when you were talking to Cos. Well, maybe you're just tired or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's like 10 o'clock right now, but no, so I haven't. Okay, so there's no problem with drinking, but I haven't drank for like the last month and
I
2
swear
months
by
now.
Jesus Christ, you didn't drink today.
I cannot swear by God, but I can swear by the Virgin Mary. So yeah, by the Virgin Mary, I haven't drunk.
Why can't you swear by God?
Yeah, it's just a rule. You cannot swear by God.
You cannot swear by God that you
You
drank.
shouldn't
No.
take God's name in vain.
Yeah, but it's not that I'm going to take the Blessed Virgin's name in vain, but it's just gonna be that I'm not going to like she doesn't have the same authority as obviously as God. However,
Yeah, I mean, what's she gonna do?
if I
Yeah, but
if I
Flensa, do
say
you
that I
think?
swear by her,
Flensa, do you think Noella sounds drunk?
She definitely sounds under the influence.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I mean, it's fine, although just
Maybe
what's
it's
your
not
type-
alcohol.
yo, what?
What's your
Wait,
type of drink,
wait,
though?
I sound wait, what? I sound to oh that is actually quite insane. Like okay, so
Man, that's crazy.
wait,
I
V,
think I'm
if
drunk.
you
That's
hold on.
wild.
V, if you followed any of my lives or any interaction that I've had, the only thing that I gave up for Lent is drinking. So it would make no sense that I've been drinking or whatever.
Could be other things.
Isn't Lent over now, though?
No, it's done on Sunday or Saturday.
So you're just like having a pre-Lent, having like a pre-Lent drink.
All right. Okay.
What are you on?
No, but what's your favorite drink though? Like when you actually do drink, are you like a wine person or?
I normally go to like wine farms, but bro, it's literally what's the day? Monday going into Tuesday. I'm not going to wine farm.
I see. So like a whiskey hole today.
No, I don't drink whiskey.
Vodka.
I don't even know. I can never drink vodka. No.
Wait, you're from Gambia, right?
Hmm?
You're from Gambia, right? Or was it no? It was South Africa.
No, I live in South Africa, but I'm from Congo.
You're from where?
Tongo.
Tongo.
Yeah.
Is that like where Wakanda is?
Yeah, it's right next to that.
Yeah, you're so smart. Oh my
It's considered
gosh.
a suburb of
Absolutely.
Wakanda.
I'm just joking.
And that's a real place, right?
Do you
Holy
speak
shit.
French, Noella?
I speak 7 languages. French would be my first, yeah.
So you speak French, English, the native
Wakandan.
language, Wakandan.
Portuguese, Afrikaans. Yeah. So I speak 7 languages.
I see. Do you speak in tongues as well? Or is that like a Protestant thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna block you after this. What the heck?
It's just asking questions. We're just curious.
No, it's not. No.
Wait, so you don't believe in speaking? I'm just curious. Like the Catholics, they don't do the tongue thing, like the charismatic thing.
Mm-mm.
Tongue.
Yeah, so you're trolling, so it's fine.
I'm not trolling at all. I'm like sincerely inquiring into Catholicism.
Yeah, no, I think you're trolling. I think you're being
I think the Pope
dishonest.
has enough aura not to do
He's
like
using discernment on you, Fee.
I know. I'm just messing. I'm just messing. So, Cosmic Man, are you why? How come you're like a Sunni if you're like Iranian? Are you like Baluchi or something?
I grew up in Sweden, so most mosques here are Sunni. So
But are
I
your
just
parents
ended up.
Shia?
Huh?
Are your parents Shia?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
I mean, I have nothing against Shias or anything like that, but I'm a Sunni myself, and I have my reasons for that. But yeah,
V, can I get mod?
Who do you want to kick out?
No, I don't want to kick anyone out. What?
That's the only reason you want mod, though.
No, that's not.
But you want to just have it?
I actually
wants
I
to
don't know
mute
who this guy is, and he's saying that this is why I want to have moderator. No.
If you go on cam and put the finger in your nose and are able to like balance, what's like usually the tests that they do is like finger on nose and keeping the balance.
Yeah, head back, eyes
Are you
closed.
wait? Oh my gosh, are you serious?
I'll give you mods if you can prove you're not under the influence.
Holy shit. Okay. Oh, Peter Nalt. All right,
that's just
never
an
mind.
American
then.
No, but
thing. You know,
Noel,
they
just
don't do
think
that
about
in
it.
Europe.
If somebody came to you and they seem tipsy, would you give them, the wheel? Would you let them drive? Obviously not.
Well, right now she probably would.
Well, Noel,
Wait,
have you ever tried?
I'm not tipsy though. What's making you think that
You're
I'm
slurring
tipsy?
your words. You're like, oh, I'm not.
V, stop harassing her, man.
Wait, Cosmic, you don't think she sounds drunk?
I mean, so what? Who cares?
Oh, he agrees. See?
Well, but I'm just saying, I can't give her mods if she's drunk. She might just like end the room or
Okay,
something.
okay, but to be fair, I'm not drunk though. I'm not tipsy.
That's just what a drunk
give you
person would
mods when
say.
you sober up a bit, I promise.
I mean, why do you
Yeah,
want to be a
absolutely. I'm gonna let you
Noella?
finish your conversation, and I'm gonna. Oh my days. Yeah.
Why do you want to be a mod, Noella?
Who's asking? Is the host asking me that, or is
Yeah.
the host did not ask me that?
Yeah, he did.
V, did you ask me that?
Yeah,
He
like
speaks
5
through
times.
us. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, so he did not necessarily. All right, like.
Like, are you hearing God or the Holy
Okay.
Spirit? I mean, whatever. It's all the same, right?
What?
You know what I said. Just answer the question, lady. Can you remember the question?
Is this guy actually dumb? He's actually dumb. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, bro, you actually dumb.
I am actually dumb, yeah. Do you have a problem with that? Doesn't God say something about blessed are the dumb people?
No. Huh?
He said they shall inherit a lot of stuff.
Wait, do you think that God would have an issue with you? Oh my god. Like,
No, God loves dumb people. That's why he made so many of us.
I'm so dead. Huh?
I said God loves dumb people. That's why he made so many of us.
Give me a verse and chapter that says that. Oh my
I mean, it's
God.
obvious. The existence of dumb people
No,
shows
give
that
me,
God
give
loves
me,
dumb
an, give
people.
me an actual verse in scripture
Oh,
that
you're
says
saying if
that.
it's not an actual verse in the Bible, then it can't
Yeah,
possibly be true?
yeah.
Okay,
So,
water
hold
isn't
on.
H2O because it's not in the Bible. Who's dumb now?
Excuse me?
Yeah, excuse you. You're not excused. There's no excuse for you.
Wait, so because water. Okay.
Yeah, calm down. Walk it back.
Oh my gosh, this guy's not real.
All right. Palms up in the air, head back, eyes closed, touch your nose. All right.
Okay, that's gonna.
Noella, if you had mod, would you kick this
Yo,
guy
I'm
right now?
laughing. This is actually funny. What the heck?
Yeah. I would kick this guy if I had mods.
Me too.
UG!
Yo!
Yo, Lester, we just. Oh yeah, I think you left and came back. We continued with the analogical thing, and I just told Cosmic Man you shouldn't be focusing on the definition. Just say that your conception of God includes that he's a minded being, and so consciousness would be evidence for your conception of God. And then you can like skip all of this like tiresome stuff about semantics.
Yeah, that his conception of God. Yeah.
Yeah, because Cosmic Man thinks God has a mind, or he thinks God is a
Wait,
mind.
wait. Okay, so V, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's going on, sister?
Oh, sorry, I heard a joke in DM. It's
Wait,
different.
Noella, what's up? Wait, who was laughing? Was it Noella or was it Luigi? Oh, it's Noel, right? Noel, not Noella. You just have like the A in your name.
You know what? Never mind.
Wait, your name is Noel. Your name is Christmas. Or is it? Does it mean something else? Is Noel is Christmas in French? No.
Yeah, it's in French, but
yeah,
you have
there's
like
Christmas in
special
French.
2 dots.
So your name is Christmas.
What did you call her? 2 dots, Mersal? That's racist.
No, in French, Since she's French, it's gonna apply. Yeah.
Yeah, she's French, so she's gonna be Christmas.
Yeah, I'm actually born on Christmas morning, so yes.
Wait, so your name is Christmas and you're born on Christmas?
Yeah.
What are the chances?
That's like insane. So you're like Jesus then?
Basically, Jesus.
Oh my God, no.
You're like God's
Well-
gift to earth by name and by birth. Wait, so
I
Cosmic-
don't think we're gonna have like a fruitful conversation. So
What do you wanna
anyways,
talk-
God bless.
No. What do you want
No,
to talk
I'm
about?
surrounded by fruit. What are you
Yeah,
talking
what
about?
do you want to talk about?
No, it's
What
not
kind of
gonna
fruit
be a
do you wanna
fruitful
talk about?
conversation. First of all, I've been accused of being like drunk,
Oh, we
and
weren't
I haven't
accusing
even
you.
drank alcohol for like almost
No.
months.
Oh,
And
you
It's
a
fine. We
week
can change the
now.
misunderstood.
hypothesis to high. It's fine.
You were no, you misunderstood. We were coming from a place of love and openness.
Oh yes. Okay, so he's gonna try to gaslight me and say that like, oh, you don't even understand.
I'm not. You're gaslighting, not me.
All right, whatever. God bless, guys. I'm gonna move on to something else.
Goodbye.
God bless Christmas.
God bless Christmas. See, this is why we can't have nice things.
Wait, so Cosmic Man, do you wanna find like a
I mean, as long as they agree with my definition, it's fine. But if they're gonna argue with that, then I don't think there's a basis for discussion.
But I'm just saying, there is a basis for discussion. Just say, keep God undefined and say you believe God has a mind, necessarily has a mind, and then just say, given that hypothesis, consciousness is evidence for it.
Yeah, I could do that, but then if we get into the semantics of like my definition, then the whole debate will.
You never
revolve
need
around
you never need to get into semantics about anything.
Oh, I think we would get into. I mean, just consider what I was discussing with divinity. I mean, that's the only thing he wanted to talk about, like my definition of God. Like we got stuck on that point. We couldn't even move forward from that.
Yeah, but I think when somebody asks you to define God, just say, I mean by God what everybody else means by God. Like, don't ever, never try to give definitions. Like, that's just pointless. Because if you ask somebody, because clearly everybody knows what chairs are, but if you ask people to define chair, like, nobody would be successful in defining a chair.
No, but we would agree on like partial definition of a chair. Like if I said it's something which we can sit on, like give a functional definition. I mean, everyone would agree with that, but maybe they would like to add things to that definition.
Maybe, but the point is, like, what's useful with this partial thing? Like, when he's asking you to give a definition, he's not asking you to give like a partial definition, surely.
Yeah, he wants like an all-encompassing definition.
I don't know what he wanted, but like, I was just,
Exactly, that's the point. Like he was just arguing about the definition of my definition.
yeah, then just find somebody else to debate. Like, you don't need to debate.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if they're gonna do what divinity did, there's no point.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I told you, maybe like the Troy or something wants to debate with you.
It'd be like the most boring debate ever.
Yeah, that's why I think you should never get into semantics. I think that's just a waste of time.
But I think it's important to define your terms, especially if you believe that the semantic content of your definition proves something or is evidence for something. Then I do think it's important.
I think it's only important to give definitions if you're using words in an idiosyncratic manner. Other than that, there's no reason to give definitions. Like language is public.
But it's not idiosyncratic. Again, I believe most people would agree with me on that definition.
I never said your definition is idiosyncratic. I said the only time I see a use of giving definitions is either if you're using words idiosyncratically, or you come from like a particular tradition or something that your interlocutor might not be very familiar with. Other than that, there's no reason, because language is public. And so trying to define things is just going to lead to confusion. Just like if I ask you to define what a sandwich is, it's probably going to give me a definition under which hot dogs are going to be sandwiches.
Yeah, but imagine if you wanted to argue, I mean, let's take your example of the chair. Like you wanted to argue that chairs are valuable. If you gave a functional definition, then you could argue for the value of chairs. But if your interlocutor would like reject that definition, like the functional definition of a chair, then I mean, I don't know how to move forward from that.
What do you mean by like a functional definition?
Yeah, so if I said a chair is something you could sit on, and I would use that definition to prove the point that chairs are valuable, because when you're tired, it's good to have something you could sit on.
I could think of something you could sit on that you wouldn't call a chair.
I can sit on Cosmic Man. I can sit on you, but you're not like a chair.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that if you use the definition to prove a point and your interlocutor would disagree with you on something that basic, then I'm not sure like what the point would be.
Yeah. One thing to you is like whenever people get into semantics, just try to move away from it as fast as possible. I'm just gonna waste and ruin the discussion.
That's impossible if you're using the semantics to prove a point. That's what I'm
Well, you
trying
can never prove a point with semantics.
Of course you can.
You can't argue to things in reality for meaning.
No, you can. I mean, if I said like water is H2O,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to argue for like synthetic knowledge or a posteriori knowledge being valuable and good, then it would be.
But water, the meaning of water is not H2O.
No, I said if you define water as H2O,
Yeah, but that's
you
not.
use that definition
But that's
that
an
you get to
idiosyncratic
prove a point.
That's just going to be an idiosyncratic definition.
Are you saying that H2O being water is idiosyncratic?
Yeah. Obviously.
In what way? Do you mean like most people do not associate water with
Like when you point to
H2O?
the ocean and you say,
Yeah,
get in the water.
because we used the term water thousands of years before this discovery of water's.
I mean, idiosyncratic would be like in a way that's like particular to me. Like
Yeah, it is particular to you that the meaning of
no, I
water
don't
is
think. I
H2O.
think it's a standard definition of water,
No.
at least philosophically.
No, it's not. Philosophically, it's a synthetic identity. It's not an analytical identity.
Yeah, but it's still a definition, right?
No, definitions are all analytical.
No, but no, that's not true. I mean, you
Yeah.
fix the definition through like synthetic descriptions.
No. All definitions are analytical.
No, you could have secondary intentions, like the way it's used. Like water would be, sorry, H2O would be a secondary intention definition.
That's not definition. That's not language.
It is.
No. That's why, like,
Yeah,
water
the primary,
is H2O.
like the primary intention of water would be like it's a
What?
liquid that fills oceans and lakes, for example. And then the secondary intention would be like it's H2O.
Well, first off, like primary and secondary intentions in 2D semantics, that's like a very, very, very hyper-specific view in philosophy, right? Like most people reject that view of philosophy. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what is H2O is a classical example in the literature of a synthetic identity. If if
now
water,
you said water is synthetic, but earlier you said water is understood analytically.
no, what I'm saying is the
You
identity.
changed your mind.
No, I didn't change my mind at all. I'm saying that the identity, water is H2O, is a classical example of a synthetic identity as opposed to an analytic identity, like all unmarried men are bachelors. That's an analytic identity. But
Yeah,
water is H.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, are you saying that identifying water as H2O would be what? What are you trying to say?
Water is H2O is a synthetic identity. It's not an analytic
Yes,
identity.
it
It's
is,
not-
but what's wrong with it?
that means it's not true by definition. It's not true by virtue of meaning.
Yeah, sure.
But
But
definitions
is it like
are
a
just
bad
true by virtue of
definition?
meaning.
Is it an invalid definition? Is it idiosyncratic?
It's
I mean,
not-
what are you trying to say?
It's not a definition.
It's not a definition at all. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Just
So
like
all definitions are analytic. Is that
Yeah.
your claim?
yeah.
All definitions.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to think about that.
Unless you're trying, but there is something else in philosophy that they call real definitions. But that's not what we standardly mean by definition.
Who the hell knows what those are?
Yeah, but like nominal
Isn't that
definitions.
like a
But like
Thomism?
nominal definitions, what we mean by definitions, the kind of things that dictionaries try to give, those are analytic. And those are going to be things like triangles have three sides, bachelors are unmarried men, you know, things like that. And what
Yeah,
I'm
I guess-
saying is, you can hold that God is necessarily a mind. God, in all possible worlds, God has a mind. But you can take that to be a metaphysical necessity as opposed to like a conceptual or logical necessity or something. You
I
cannot.
think that would be an analytic definition of God.
Yep. Yeah, but the problem with that is you have all these people who say they believe in God, like the Taoists and the Thomists and the Ismailis and the Avicennians and the Akbarians and the Sadrians, and none of them believe that God has a mind.
Again, I think we disagree on that because you can't provide me with an explicit like quotation or anything that says that. You're just presupposing that.
No, but I'm just saying that that's what it means to say univocally. You can't predicate mind of God univocally. But like even if you want to exclude the absolute divine simplicity for the sake of not confusion or something, you still have people like Taoists who say that the Tao is God. Is an example.
Yeah, but do they say that the Tao is not a mind?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
They may say you cannot like predicate anything on the Tao, but I'm not sure that it would explicitly say that it's not a mind.
I mean, I'm reading right here. It says, the Tao is fundamentally understood not as a conscious mind, but as the nameless, spontaneous, and non-dualistic process regulating the universe. It is the underwaying and underlying nature way of being, a flow that happens without intention, choice, or mental effort.
Sure, but do they call the Tao God?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Like in Chinese or whatever. They call it God?
I thought it was
they
more like
use the Chinese word for God on the Tao. Is that what you're saying?
I always thought it was just kind of like the way things happen, like some process of
Like
unfolding.
karma, right? Or samsara, maybe. Samsara.
That's Buddhism. That's Buddhism.
Yeah, I know it's Buddhism. I'm just giving an analogy to another religion.
No, but in Buddhism, they do believe in gods. I mean, you can be an atheist and be a Buddhist, but generally the Theravada and the Mahayana, they do believe in gods.
Yeah, but the Tao isn't a mind. It's not. It doesn't have like intention. It
Yeah,
doesn't like
I'm
want to
saying,
unfold a certain way.
yeah, but would they call the Tao God? If they don't, then it's not analogous to what I'm saying.
Well, gods in their view wouldn't be fundamental.
No, but
Right.
that's
So
not the
that so the
question.
mind itself wouldn't be fundamental. And in your
No,
view,
but,
mind
but
is
what V
fundamental.
is saying, what V is saying is that there are religions out there that believe in God, but would say that that God is not a mind, and then he appealed to Taoists.
Oh.
And I'm saying, yeah, they may say that the Tao is mindless,
Mhm.
but do they say that the Tao is God? Because if they don't, then it's not analogous.
I mean, in Taoism, they have gods, but the Tao isn't a god.
It's not like a deity in a sense, but it plays the role of
No.
God. The same way
Yeah,
Brahman,
it's
the
yeah.
same way Brahman plays like a role of God. In
What do you mean
Hinduism.
plays the role of a God? Either
Well,
the-
if you take in like classical theism or most versions of theism, God is taken to be like the fundamental metaphysical ground of reality, and that's what the Tao is. And then classical theism then adds different stuff on top of that, right? A different analysis of what that
Yeah,
is.
but if that is what they would say, like the ground of reality, then again,
Yeah.
it could be something like a quantum field or gravity or something. But no one would call that God, right? Because it doesn't have a mind. It's mindless. It would be absurd to call gravity or a quantum field X.
Yeah, if
God.
you're going to say it has to have a mind, then yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it
Yeah, but
has
I'm
to
just
have a-
saying. I mean, I'm just saying that there are traditions who say they believe in God, say they're theistic, but like Taoism is obviously a form of theism, but they wouldn't say that the Tao has a mind.
And they wouldn't say
But
that the Tao is God. So it's disanalogous.
Well,
I mean, they don't use that language if that's what you mean, like Ilah or Allah.
Okay,
Or,
but then I could say the same about mind. They don't use that language.
well,
So-
but you could say, look, if it's
But
not
they
the
do use-
metaphysical ground of being, then it's not God.
I don't think it's
Right.
enough. It may be a necessary condition for being God, that you
Okay.
are the ground of being, but it's not sufficient because you have to be a mind also. A mindless ground
Yeah,
is
no,
not God.
I agree that for your definition of God, it has to be a mind. But Venus is just showing that how you understand the word mind, even if you look at like classical theism, it's not going to be understood univocally. When you say mind, you have no idea what that means when you predicate it of God.
Yeah,
when you say he
that
has a
would be
mind.
true for anything, right? Knowledge,
Right.
everything, all other properties, basically.
Right. And you can say, oh, absolute divine simplicity is like, why do we need that? But they come to ADS for a reason, right? It does a lot of work in their metaphysics that then you don't get to avail yourself of.
Yeah, but
Around like aseity and all sorts of stuff. Right? Necessity.
yeah, sure. But there's two things there. Number one, I don't need to restrict myself to that definition, obviously. And the second thing, I'm not sure if that is actually correct to say. Because, yeah, they would say that about the essence of God. I agree that it's like unknowable, basically. You cannot predicate anything of it. But they wouldn't say that about God simpliciter, right? They would say God is, you could ascribe attributes to God. Otherwise, it's a meaningless term.
Well, what do you think is a counterexample?
Of what?
What is it? What sort of attribute do you want to predicate of God?
I mean,
And then we can look at it. Okay, so what does it mean to say God has a mind?
It means that it is something it is like to be God. It's not like nothing to be God.
Okay. And is there anything else you can say about it?
Any other like attributes, or I mean, I wouldn't say consciousness is an attribute, but let's just, for the sake of argument, yeah, you could say, for example, as you said, that he's the ground of being or the source of reality, the source of, yeah, let's say universe, not reality, because he would obviously be included in reality. So that's what. But yeah, you could also say that. So he's the source of the universe, or creator, if you like. I'm fine with that too.
Do you distinguish between those two?
I think that if you sorry, go ahead. I think that if you want like a minimal definition of God that's gonna like satisfy the Taoists and absolute divine simplicity people and the Spinozists and all those people who like claim to believe in God or something like in God, you're probably just gonna have something as thin and minimal as believing in an ultimate reality or something like that. Ultimate creator, ultimate reality, or something like that.
Yeah, but adding the word ultimate, what work does it do? I mean, creator I understand, obviously.
Presumably, it's supposed to like exclude things like mere physical forces or something.
But then why
At the
not
very
say
least,
that
like,
explicitly?
but yeah, I mean, like there probably is not going to be like a single agreed upon semantic definition of God. But if you're like looking for like commonalities between all of these things, it's probably just going to be something like highest reality or ultimate being or something like that. Maybe even the worship part might be excluded, because I think in like Taoism and other traditions, they don't have like a notion of worship. Or in like maybe like in the Hindu traditions as well. I'm not talking about like the modern like like the modern form of like what you call Hinduism, but like more in like the philosophical traditions. I think they didn't view like ultimate reality as some kind of like a worship relational thing. I might be wrong about that, but yeah.
And would you add agency to that?
No, I don't. I wouldn't do that, because just again think about like Spinoza or think about Taoism.
Yeah, sure. I may agree with that. So the bare minimum, according to what you said, would be like the ground of being. What else did you add to that? Sorry.
It's probably just gotta be something as thin as ultimate reality or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
Ultimate
that
reality that is
informative,
ground of
obviously.
existence or something like that.
I mean, if I'm understanding it correctly, it's that anything that you say of God is only going to be analogically related, right? So even when you say God is the ground of being, then the word like ground and being are going to be used analogically.
Right.
Right. So what does that mean? I mean, we know what being means in the context of, animals and people and things, but what does being mean in the sense of God?
Yeah,
And we know what ground means, in our like normal non-causal explanatory relation, but what does it mean when you talk about God as ground?
Or any kind of like semantic content either.
Yeah.
Like for example, here's like an explicit example, Cosmic Man. Like in Hinduism, like in Advaita Vedantana, Brahman does not have a mind. That's like explicitly stated. But Brahman is the ultimate formless attributeless
Wait, where
reality.
is it explicitly stated?
Advaita Vedanta, they're like notoriously almost atheistic.
That's a dodge.
In terms of God being a mind. Is that Zach?
But they still would say but they still call Brahman a god.
Yeah.
You have to substantiate. You said they say explicitly
Just look.
that Brahman is not a mind.
Just look here, like let me just put this in like Google. In Hinduism is Brahman
Wait, real quick, while he's looking that up, Cosmic, how do you define qualia?
You want like a formal definition?
No, just you can ostensively. It doesn't matter.
Okay, if it, I mean Nagel's basically. If it is something it is like to be X, then X is conscious.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, because earlier you defined mind as what its likeness, and I mean you're an idealist, so I don't know if that like is why they're the same, but
But that's not an idealistic definition exclusively. I mean, it's a
right.
general
I'm
definition.
not trying to say it's like strictly.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am an idealist. Yeah.
Brahman is distinguished from a mind because minds think and they have intentions and memory and all these different things, right? But Brahman doesn't have any of that stuff. He doesn't change. He's without thoughts. He doesn't have thoughts. Without parts. Doesn't have thoughts. Isn't a thinker.
Yeah, but thoughts are not necessary for experience. So the example I gave earlier, I mean, imagine you were an entity.
Wait, but we're talking about experience or minds? I don't know. These words are very slippery.
I think
Like
they're kind of synonymous. I mean, maybe you could add structure to consciousness to make it a mind, so to speak. But I think they're very closely linked. So,
do you think consciousness is mental activity?
I mean, I would say it's more basic than that. I think it's it's even a potential would be mental also. It doesn't necessarily need to have content. I know that would be very difficult to like comprehend and imagine, but I could give analogies from physics if it like the Aharonov-Bohm effect of potential.
You can imagine like if we pause time where it just so happened that none of your neurons were firing or no mental things were going on. It would be weird to say that there wasn't consciousness there, right?
Yeah. The example I give is imagine an entity that could only experience the color red, like the only thing. There wouldn't be any like thoughts there, right?
Yeah,
But it would
I
be
think him and
experience.
Mary are boyfriend and girlfriend, right?
What?
From Mary's room. Oh, it's whatever. Wrong crowd. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm appealing to. No.
Yeah, no, yeah.
No, what happened?
Are you still looking it up, V? You like looking up on ChatGPT like Brahman?
No, I'm reading
mind.
No, I'm reading the Wikipedia actually.
Yeah, I don't think you find. I don't think any religion would specifically say that God is not a mind. I think that would sound very strange, because you're equating God with some process, like some mechanistic thing, and I don't think anyone understands.
I think
God
part of the
to be that.
problem is that a lot of religions, especially Eastern religions. So I took classical Eastern metaphysics at university, and one of the big distinctions that they showed was that those that view a role as a grounding function for all existence, like the metaphysical ground for existence, can't be an agent. And so they have like a different layer, which is like this metaphysical ground. And then they have this agentic layer, which is where all the gods live. And they're going to be instances of, universal consciousness, or instances of, intelligibility, or whatever it is. But they're not going to be the ground itself. So I think the issue comes up when you're asking God to play like this dual role, where he's both the metaphysical ground of ontology and an instance of ontology.
I think in all religions, basically, they make a distinction between the essence and the manifestation. So, as V said correctly, I mean, in Islam, in Christianity, they would distinguish between the essence of God and God's activities, if you like, or manifestations. But it doesn't mean that God is not that. I don't know. V is saying it does mean that, but to me that's kind of strange because then we couldn't say anything about God.
Well,
If
God's
his
mind is
attributes-
identical with his essence. Like God's anything is going to be identical with anything else if you hold to ADS, right? And if you
Yeah.
don't, well, then you're just a heretic and you're going to burn in hell. So, I mean, which one do you want to do? Which one do you want to pick? You know?
but say, I think that's a false dichotomy. But anyway, saying that like these
Sure,
attributes.
say that as you burn, all right?
What about you? You don't even believe in God.
Oh, I think God's metaphysically impossible. On my account of metaphysics.
What about
Which is the only
logic?
possible one.
Is he also logically impossible?
No, who cares about logically impossible?
But isn't your like structural realism?
I'm not
an
a structural
argument for-
realist.
Not that.
Are you not?
No. I'm an ontological quietist.
I thought you were a structural realist.
No.
Okay.
I'm a meta-ontological structural quietist. That's the technical definition.
Yeah, I mean, ontological talk is confusing. I give you that.
I think it's like totally beside the point and causes us a lot of problems. Whether it's like fundamentally mental or fundamentally physical, and like who gives a shit?
Guys, sorry for all that marriage room stuff. I was way out of line.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go run. I gotta pick up my kids.
Whatever,
Talk to y'all
man.
later.
Take
Like
care.
every time you speak, I see red.
You should talk to. Fuck.
Is that an argument for psychophysical harmony?
It is. It is. It is. Only if it produces avoidance behavior. or maybe not.
Huh?
When it comes to psychophysical harmony, I mean, I understand the case that Cutter and Cromit are making, that, you know, like whenever you have something that is very improbable and valuable, it kind of like indicates agency, like a god. But I don't think they're justified in making that jump. To be honest, I'm a theist myself, but maybe I misunderstood the strength of their case. But I don't see how they can justify that.
Yeah, Yuji was telling me about that yesterday.
I was like reading.
What?
I was reading from Jeffrey Long, who's like an expert in the Brahma stuff. So what I found is Brahman a mind or a person? No, according to Adi Shankaracharya, which is an Indian philosopher who systemized the Advaita Vedantana, which is one of the many major traditions of the Vedanta. So these are like the philosophical schools of Hinduism, which is separate from the common practice where you see like them worshipping.
Yeah, I know
gods and
Advaita Vedanta tradition.
so, it
Yeah,
says,
I know.
so according to Adi Shankaracharya, Brahman is nirguna, without properties, without attributes. Brahman is not an individual knower. Brahman is not a thinking subject. Can we predicate anything of Brahman? Ultimately, at the Paramartha level, no real predicates apply. Predication implies distinction. Brahma is non-dual, Advaita, so any descriptions introduces falsely. Provisionally, in a pointer sense, we can predicate, but not literal descriptions. And from the Upanishads, this comes from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 236, neti neti, not this, not that. It is ungraspable, not perishable, without attachment, without bonds. Yeah, so they're like as radical as the absolute divine simplicity people. You can't really, and I guess the Taoist as well. Like what's common to like Taoism, I guess the Advaita Vedanta tradition and absolute divine simplicities. They all agree that like you can't like predicate anything of God or talk about God as having a mind or anything. At least univocally. You can only do so like analogically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
only
I
But
agree with. I mean, when it comes to the essence, yes, but again, I don't think they're explicitly rejecting God being or having a mind. They're just saying that when it comes to the essence, they're basically quietist, right? When it comes to the essence, that's all they're saying. But there are nuances there.
but it's not like God has an essence and God has something else. Like God is identical to his essence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say that.
But then then it would be wrong to attribute anything to God, because if the essence
Univocally,
itself
yes.
is unknowable and the like attributes cannot are identical to that thing which is unknowable, then those attributes are also ultimately unknowable.
Well, that's why you can't predicate like univocally.
Yeah, univocally, you can't predicate anything to God. That's the point.
And if it's just analogical predication all the way down, then at some point it just starts to look like equivocal predication. Or whatever.
Yeah, but let's maybe move on. V, what's your view or take on psychophysical harmony?
I think it's an uninteresting argument.
Interesting or uninteresting?
Uninteresting.
Uninteresting. Why?
Because it's just like a C-inductive argument.
Could you elaborate?
Do you remember when we spoke about Raven's paradox earlier?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When I said white chairs are evidence for the hypothesis all ravens are black. So these arguments are just saying that, like, look, the probability of theism conditionalized upon harmony is greater than the prior probability of theism. That's all you're saying. But like, so what? The probability of all ravens are black, conditionalized upon there's a white chair in my living room, is greater than the prior probability of all ravens are black.
But it's like rejecting like classical logic because of the liar's paradox. I mean, that's basically what you're doing.
I'm not rejecting anything.
Yeah, that's using logic. That's
using
contraposition.
But let me explain what I mean. So you're taking a case that's like a limitation of the system, and you're applying that to the whole system. So are you saying that basically that abductive or Bayesian type of arguments are not informative or not good, or what are you trying to say?
No, I think abductive arguments are good. What I'm saying is C-inductive arguments are not interesting because evidence is not that interesting. Evidence is cheap. We're not interested in evidence. We're interested in a kind of evidence that is such that by virtue of this evidence, we should now accept this thesis, right? This thesis is more plausible than its negation. And that's not the kind of, but that's not the kind of argument psychophysical harmony is purporting to be.
You're saying that the kind of evidence that there is for psychophysical harmony is like the trivial kind, like the white lawn chair, right?
No, I'm not saying it's trivial, but I'm saying what the argument is supposed to be is just a C-inductive argument, and whether or not, but it's not talking about like the exact strength of the evidence. So unless somebody wants to say like harmony is not merely evidence for theism, but it's actually renders theism more likely than not, that would be an interesting argument. But that's not what Cutter and Crummett are taking the argument to be. Like, in fact, explicitly in the text, they say that it's evidence or as supportive of theistic adjacent views, which can be atheistic, like Nagel's view or Platonism.
Right.
And in fact, it could be evidence for type A physicalism.
Yeah, they do mention that in the paper.
So that's right. So that's given those artifacts, given that it's evidence for those views as well, that just means the argument is at best purported to be a C-inductive argument.
You're saying because like alternative hypothesis could explain the same data or evidence, it's like not valuable or not good enough, or
What's less valuable for sure.
Like the thing is, I can grant you it's a successful argument and still be an atheist, right?
okay, I get what you're saying. So you're saying like it doesn't accomplish the goal, basically.
It's not the kind of it's not purported to be the kind of argument that establishes theism. Yeah.
What kind of induction is C induction?
C induction is just the kind of induction that shows the posterior probability is greater than the prior probability.
Oh.
P inductive argument is supposed to show that the posterior probability is larger than 0.5.
Okay. Venus, do you accept like normative harmony or semantic harmony?
That's like a good question. I think I think at least epistemic harmony, there's no such thing. I think hedonic harmony, there's no such thing. What was the third kind of harmony
Semantic.
in the first category?
Oh, in the first one? I think it's hedonic, epistemic, and then it was like cognitive harmony or something like that. I can't remember.
I think the third kind.
Normative is included in the epistemic, so they have two broad categories.
No, normative is the broad category, and under normative you have hedonic, epistemic, and one more, and then you had semantic harmony.
Yeah.
But I forgot the name of the third category. But the third category, I'm unsure of that. I might believe in that, but I don't believe in epistemic harmony or hedonic harmony. As for semantic harmony, I'm not sure yet.
What is it about hedonic harmony that you reject?
I don't think pain is intrinsically or essentially normative, for example.
You don't think like it warrants avoidance behavior?
Yeah, like for example, if I'm having sex and I'm like choking my girlfriend, like I don't think her being in pain rationalizes avoidance behavior. Like
But
there are
if
people who are like
she's
sadistic,
choking you, then that's no fair.
and if like she's choking, like there are, well, that's just like an example, crude example, but like yeah, like being in pain itself, in fact, given your goals, you might actually rationalize to remain in that state. I think pain,
But wouldn't that mean just that you some other thing has more value, and because of that you like?
yeah, but that's not
endure
what
the
it
pain?
means. That's not what hedonic normativity is supposed to mean. Hedonic normativity is supposed to be that the states themselves essentially are normative.
But isn't that not really an example of disharmony in the same way that, let's imagine a universe where when you put your hand on a stove, you liked it as it was burning. That's not an example of disharmony because what would be disharmonious is if you liked the way it felt and you moved your hand away anyway. Something like that. It's hard to, get across.
But
what I'm
that
thinking
wouldn't be pain state. That would be some other state. Like the point is, if it's like
right.
a
Well, I'm saying that
pleasurable-
just like in the choking case, it doesn't seem to be a pain state. But by what we mean by pain is that which produces avoidance behavior or something.
But if it's in the meaning of pain that it produces avoidance behavior, then that means that the psychophysical harmony argument fails. In fact, that just means like some kind of like behaviorism or type A physicalism is gonna be true. Like
Yeah, but they're not talking about like how we label those experiences. They're talking about the experience itself. That the experience itself is felt in a way that warrants the behavior. Like it logically aligns with the behavior.
what? No. What you're
Experience
saying,
itself, not the label.
no. We're saying something else. But just give me one second. I just got like a message on WhatsApp. I just gotta answer. Hope if the live ends, just rejoin. I just gotta answer this one.
Yeah. For someone,
Way back.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah, so like under some views, there are people who hold that it's in the conception of pain that it leads to avoidance behavior. So so if that view is correct, then a psychophysical harmony argument would fit. And we're saying obviously that view is incorrect. But what I'm saying is I don't take it that these hedonic states, intrinsically are normative. I only think that pain states, for example, rationalizes avoidance behavior if they're accompanied with the desire that you don't want to be in pain states. But I don't locate the normative force in the hedonic states themselves. I locate it in the desire states.
I think, yeah, obviously. So for example, like a bodybuilder could endure the pain because he has a higher goal of like building up muscles or whatever. but then it doesn't mean that the pain itself is not unpleasant or unwarranted.
We're not talking about the
It just
pain
means that
itself.
it's overridden by some other higher goal.
No, I don't think we're not talking about whether it's pleasant or not. We're talking about if it has normative force or not, if it's essentially normative. And I'm saying I don't see why you would want to hold the view that pain is essentially normative. Like why think hedonic states are intrinsically essentially normative? As opposed to
Yeah, but the reason they're harmonious is because the experience of being in pain justifies rationally the avoidance behavior. Like
yeah,
there's an alignment.
I'm saying that's false.
How could that be false?
Because I'm saying whether or not if you're in pain, what action that rationalizes depends on your desires, not on the state by itself. If you have the desire to be in pain, then being in pain doesn't rationalize avoidance behavior.
But no one has the desire to be in pain. The thing
Yeah,
is
they
this.
do.
I think that's
No,
false.
let me finish.
No, that's false.
The thing is, but the thing is this. They have some other goal that warrants accepting or enduring the pain. So if it
No,
was
that's
not
no. There are people who have desire to be in pain.
Yeah, there are people who like imagine like a very very depressed person who like there's no further goal than to just put themselves through a lot of pain and like on the way to the like ending their life or something.
but that would just mean that there's some other thing that they value more than avoiding the pain. That's all I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is they desire to be in pain. They wanna be in the state themselves.
Masochism, like the quality of the feel of pain is desirable to some people.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that pain. Cosmic Man, what you're saying is for them pain is a means to something else. Like they're building muscles and their goal is to get like big muscles. So they're enduring the pain to get the big muscles. No, we're saying there are people like
sticks.
I don't think that's true.
No, but that's what we call.
For example,
That's what we call.
is
That's
it
what we call
masochists? What are they called?
masochists.
Masochists. Yeah. So the masochists, for example, the pain is not that the pain gives them pleasure. Is the thing that pleasure. How could I say this? It just like they accept the pain in order for some greater experience that they perceive to be sexual or whatever, like a sexual type of.
No, but it's not like there's some experience other than the pain. It's the pain experience that turns them on.
Yeah.
So it's what they desire is to be in pain.
But isn't it?
It's not like the bodybuilder. In the bodybuilder case, the pain is a means to something else, to big muscles. But in the sexual
the
case,
masochists, don't they like seek sexual pleasure, and that's the reason they like the pain? Like,
Well, I mean, we keep using this example, like we keep going to like masochists in like a sexual way, but that kind of baked in the notion that there's some competing good. Let's just imagine somebody who just wants to be in pain for, let's just say, no profound reason. Like likely those people exist.
I'm not sure about that. I mean,
no, but
because all examples we can give of someone wanting to be in pain is because of some other reason. For example, like sexual pleasure, building muscles, or something like that.
Yeah,
What if
but I
somebody just
don't
wants to like take all their skin off?
like there are like look. There are people who want to be in the pain states. It's not like a means. I don't think in a sex case the pain is a means to something else. I think it is the pain state that they find to be pleasurable. That gives them pleasure. That turns them
No,
on.
but it's not any state of pain. It's some particular state of pain, like some sexual, or like I don't know exactly, but
Yeah,
it
but
has something to do with
they
You know
like
exactly.
to be in pain. Is my point.
like okay. Let me put it like this: in the context of sexual activity. Let me put it like that. Okay, that's the context in which they enjoy pain. It's not like any context.
Yeah, I mean there are people who are like in any context actually enjoy being in pain. But
But also,
I don't
even if
think
it's just in a
that's true.
sexual context, that's still an example.
no, but like look, I'm not a masochist, but I enjoy being in like pain in sexual context. But what I'm saying is there are people who enjoy being in pain in any context. But
I think it's just like positive valence, right? Like
Yeah.
like I think we're just kind of like the language is tricky here, Cosmic, because I think they are feeling like this phenomenological experience of like sensory pain. There's just like some like positive valence that they're like, I don't know, getting from it.
Yeah, exactly. It like overrides the desire to move away from the pain because that pleasure is like higher to them or better to them than the pain. Like it overrides that. Just like in the case of the bodybuilder, like there's a higher context under which the bodybuilder endures the pain, but it's not like he wants to be in pain
No,
for
but
no
I'm saying
reason.
no, but I'm saying there are people who want to be in particular pain states in particular scenarios, not as a means to something else, but they like the pain state in of itself.
Could you give an example? Like,
Yeah, I did, like choking during sex.
yeah, but again, that's under the context of sexual activity.
It's not like the sexual pleasure is something above and beyond the pain state itself.
Yes, it is.
That's what I'm saying.
That's my argument. It is exactly because of that. It's because there's something that's more valuable to them than the pain, so they endure the pain in order to get that other thing that they like value more.
I don't know. What I'm saying is they like to be in pain in that state. They enjoy the pain in that state. Just like, for example, at times when I
No
poke,
higher
like,
purpose?
like at times when I poke, like at times I like the pain of like when I poke my gums with like a toothpick. I enjoy the pain. I find that pain to be pleasurable. That
Yeah, but maybe that's because the pleasure overrides the the unpleasantness of the pain.
no, it's still unpleasant, but I like the unpleasantness of the pain state.
Yeah, I also like poking Venus's gums with a toothpick.
Yeah. So I'm saying if you desire to be in those pain states, I'm just saying in most cases we don't desire to be in pain states, and in those cases, it rationalizes avoidance behavior. But the location of the normative force is not in the hedonic state itself, but rather it is in the desire state.
Take the case of like I think that something that most people could like understand, or like a mosquito bite. We like to like itch ourselves when we have a mosquito bite, even though it hurts. The pleasure is like more valuable.
It hurts?
Yeah, like you
It
could
feels
start
so
bleeding
good.
and stuff. If you itch yourself too much, right? It starts bleeding, and it's also hurtful. But the pleasure of itching yourself is more valuable to you than the pain. It's not that the pain, the void of the itching pleasure would be something you want. No, you wouldn't want to like hurt yourself if it was not for the pleasure of.
What about some like extreme example like the Pain Olympics or something?
Yeah, then maybe they're doing for some high purpose, and that's
You
my whole point.
you get that
No
reference?
one
You know
wants
what
to
I'm-
be in
do you
pain
know what I'm
for the
referring
pain's
to?
sake. To put it in one sentence, no one wants to be pain for the sake of pain itself. It's
Do you know what I'm
always for
referring
some
to, then?
higher purpose.
I mean, I think so. I think in some pain states I want to be in the sake for their own sake, like in the tooth gum case.
but not in
But
the
in
pain
itself,
Olympics
it's
case.
enjoyable. Didn't
Like,
you say?
yeah, I don't think pain is like just this like raw thing. I think there's like different kinds of pain states, and like in some of them, in some contexts, we do desire to be in those pain states, not as a means to something else.
Okay, let's take
Because
the.
like in the sexual case, I don't think there are like two states where the pain is a means to something else. I think it is just the
It
pain state
is.
itself.
I think that's the whole point.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, maybe you're analyzing that way, but I'm not analyzing it that way. I think it's the pain itself that I find pleasurable.
With Venus, what
Yeah,
about
so
have you in Cutter and Kermit's paper they respond to the view that the normativity is placed in desire,
yeah,
felt like desire.
that's the third type of normative. I just forgot the name of it, but that's like the third category of normative.
Yeah.
I
What do you
think
think
that
about
one.
that?
I think that one. That's why I said I don't think the hedonic harmony is correct because I think it's like
Psychomatic harmony? What is it?
Sorry.
Psychomatic harmony, maybe? I forget
Yeah,
what
I
it's called.
think I think so. Yeah, I'm saying that one is I think has force, but I think it's just obvious that hedonic states are not essentially normative, and the epistemic one is just assumes internalism about epistemology, whereas most epistemologists are externalists.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
yeah.
Well, my thing with that is like it'd be so weird. Like I don't understand what it means when they want to say that like if you like desire something, like you desire to bring about some like phenomenal state, and then you act as if you avoid it, right? And the agent is supposed to be like aware, or like either they're like aware that this is happening or it's not, or they're not aware of it. And if they're aware of it, like does their mind not control their like physical behaviors if they're aware of it, and they're just constantly avoiding things that they like desire to bring about, or the opposite where they're just like not aware of it, and then it's like, how do we even know we're not in, how do we know that we're have harmony, you know what I'm saying?
Can I try to answer that, or you wanna go? Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, imagine like, let's take evolution as a response to that. Okay, so we
Evolution
have
is
these
horrible.
brain states that trickle down to the body, and there's an effect. So it could be like it's conceivable that we would have the exact same physiological states like happening in our bodies, but the mental experience would be different. So in that case, it would be kind of like a epiphenomenon type of situation in which like we have desire to do something, but we cannot do it because our bodies do not obey. Our bodies are designed to act a certain way, like dominoes, basically. So that is conceivable, and that is the type that they're referring to there, I believe.
But like wouldn't they have to like, epiphenomenalism is like a very implausible view, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say. I just meant that in that type of a sense, like you can't like you don't have any causal power on your actual body in that sense. Like your mental states doesn't have any causal role. It was in that sense I mentioned epiphenomenalism. Because evolutionarily, like your body just does what it does because of some stimuli, and it would do the same thing even though your mental states would be different. Like that's conceivable, right? And it would be disharmonious.
Okay, hold on, I can't pay attention because I'm driving.
I mean, you still have like harmony. You can still have harmony under epiphenomenalism. In fact, they start out by saying assume substance dualism and epiphenomenalism in the paper.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if your like mental state did not match your behavior, then it would be disharmonious, right? Like you want
if the content didn't like rationalize it, It will be disharmony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean in that sense.
But like yeah, like the third. What was the third? Wait, let me just pull up the paper. Actually, psychophysical. So like I think it's easy to dismiss the hedonic and the epistemic one. I think the third one is a bit more difficult. If you want to counter the argument, but let me just pull up the paper.
Or if I pour boiling water on 1 billion people, 100% of them would say it's unwanted, even masochists.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But I also think
That was
like
funny.
I just think that if you think about like the sexual case, like to be turned on by pain just means that you desire to be in pain. Like it's just like you like
It's
the
not
state of
any
being in
pain. It's a specific pain
Well,
that you
of course, but-
accept because you like the sexual pain more.
Yeah, but if all you're saying is that, if we surveyed a quadrillion people, and threw them into a volcano and could somehow interview them after, like, did you enjoy your experience? Even if every one of them said no, that doesn't mean that a less extreme version of pain isn't desirable to some agent.
Oh, the third kind is called cognitive harmony. How the fuck did I forget that word? Cognitive harmony. Cognitive harmony is, I think, the one is like a bit tricky, but I think there are replies to it.
I think cognitive harmony is like it would be like your beliefs and how they correspond to
Beliefs and desires.
the actual like world and how you
Yeah.
behave in it.
Yeah, it's
But
like
Gary-
if I desire. Wait, let me just find the example that they give.
I think they give the example of a cup, like believing that there is a cup, and then the cup is actually there, so it's warranted, and like your beliefs match the actual situation, and that's harmony.
Yeah,
That's-
beer from the fridge example.
What was that?
Yeah, they give the beer and the fridge example. The beer and the fridge example.
I remember a cup. I don't know, maybe some.
No, they say one type of rational appropriate matching involves practical rationality. We tend to behave in ways that are instrumental and rational in light of our current phenomenal beliefs and desires. Suppose your overall functional states involves our disposition to take a beer from a fridge. Given cognitive phenomenalism, you will also have some cognitive phenomenal states. Perhaps among them a phenomenal belief that there is a beer in the fridge and a phenomenal desire to drink beer. Although these cognitive phenomenal states are given dualism, not grounded in your purely functional states, these super-add phenomenal states are exactly the states that would rationalize your behavior.
Okay, speed reader.
I think I Islamized the thought experiment there by saying it's a cup instead
But
of a
let's
beer.
see all of this grounded in your purely function. Another type of rational appropriate matching concerns theoretical rationality. We tend to have beliefs that are rationally appropriate in light of our sensory experience. For example, when you have a sensory experience of a table in front of you, this tends to be followed by a distinct phenomenal belief that there is a table in front of you. Of all phenomenal beliefs that could have been correlated with your brain states by the psychophysical laws, you get a phenomenal belief that is rationally appropriate in light of your sensory experience. So the idea here is like typically when you desire beer and you believe beer in the fridge.
It has to do with your beliefs and how they match onto the situation.
But they don't say we tend to behave in ways that are. Yeah, so like the point is, if you believe that there's a beer in the fridge, if you desire beer and you believe there's a beer in the fridge, typically we go and we pick out the beer in the fridge, as opposed to we jump out of the window. And so the point is like the psychophysical laws match, they match beer beliefs and desire beliefs to behavior of getting beer in. But it's also the case that having that desire rationalizes getting beer. And right. So that's supposed to be like the two harmonious. That's supposed to be like the harmony there. And then there's this second kind of harmony that if there's a table in front of me, I believe the psychophysical laws produce the belief that there's a table in front of me. But also if I'm standing in front of a table, like the rational thing for me to do is to have the belief that there's a table in front of me. So that's supposed to be like the harmony there.
I mean, it sounds very counterintuitive, right? People think it sounds crazy, but you could actually understand it if you just imagine your body functioning like a robot. Okay, like the same behavior would happen because of the your brain states and how they change your or trickle down to your nerves and then your body act. So all of that could happen without you having a belief that matched what you did. So if you just imagine that type of scenario, then you would get what they mean. Otherwise, it sounds crazy.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
So imagine like a robot. We could program it to do exactly that. Like going to the fridge and taking a beer out. But imagine we could build a conscious robot. So we would give that robot the experience or the belief of swimming in a lake when it goes to the fridge and takes out beer. I mean, it wouldn't match, right? Like swimming.
Could we program that robot to enjoy pain?
Yes, I think we could, because it would be forced to act the way it did because of its program anyway.
But yeah, I think amongst the three kinds, I have to remember exactly semantical harmony, but I think of the three kinds of harmony, cognitive harmony is the only compelling one. But I think there's replies to that one as well. There are replies you can give to that one. The other two I don't think are even seriously worth considering. I don't think there's such thing as hedonic normativity, and the epistemic one just holds a very minority view in epistemology.
What would the replies be? Do you know?
The what?
The replies to the
Well,
third
I
one.
mean, think about it this way, right? The practical rationality here is supposed to be that if you desire beer, then you ought to get a beer, right? The rational thing for you is to get a beer. But think about it, that if the psychophysical laws were such that the laws make it such that when you have desire for beer and beliefs that there's beer in the fridge, the accompanying functioning behavior is to jump outside of the window. Then the question is, you as an agent, when you desire beer, can you get beer? And it seems like at least it's going to be nomologically impossible for you to get beer or something, given the psychophysical laws or whatever. If that's the case, and if it's the case that ought implies can, then it can be the case that those desire states rationalize the action of getting beer.
Right.
So that
Okay,
would
yeah.
be one way of replying to the cognitive harmony case.
That makes sense. I gotta go to work. I'll catch y'all later.
I wasn't paying attention. Do you mind repeating that?
Yeah, what I'm saying is a lot of people believe ought implies can. And I'm saying if there are psychophysical laws and if they were disharmonious, then it's not clear that if you believe that there is beer in the fridge and you desire beer, that you can get beer, because maybe the psychophysical laws are disharmonious. So whenever you desire beer and you believe there's a beer in the fridge, the laws are such that they're accompanied by the functional state of, let's say, jumping out of the window or running a marathon. And if that's the case, then you can't get a beer. But if you can't get a beer, then those desires can't rationalize the action of getting a beer.
But I mean, we could conceive again of
So that just means this harmony is going to be impossible. That's supposed to be the idea.
I don't think it's impossible because
It's either this harmony is impossible, or it's the case that desires are not intrinsically normative. There's like something else that's missing.
or a third option. I mean, it could be the case that, I mean, couldn't you imagine a creature that believed something but couldn't like act on it?
No, but we're talking about practical rationality. I'm not talking about beliefs.
Yeah, like you believe there's beer in the fridge, and you wanted beer from the fridge, but like you couldn't act on that belief because like
Then
your
how do
body
you have an
didn't.
obligation? Then how do you have an obligation to get beer from the fridge?
I mean, you could imagine you being a robot and don't have any like causal powers on your
No,
body.
but if you're a robot, you don't have any obligations.
No, okay, a human that couldn't like control his body.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have any. The point is, if ought implies can, you only have obligations if you can fulfill them. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying if there's disharmonious laws, then you can't fulfill them. And if you can't fulfill them, then they're not obligations. And if they're not obligations, then desire states are not normative.
Okay, yeah, I guess what you're saying makes sense. Yeah, because yeah, if they didn't align, that action couldn't happen.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I mean, how do they give any other examples, and how do you think they will come to that?
Who are you talking about?
Crummet and Cutter. I mean, they obviously
No, they don't
must have thought of
respond.
that.
They don't respond to this objection in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
V,
I
have
wonder
you
why.
so on a tangential note, but similar? Have you looked into like the distinction between like degree of belief views within Bayesianism versus like degree of support views?
I talk about the credence or something else.
Yeah, like within standard Bayesianism, yeah, I guess the credence is just going to be like how strongly or how confident like a rational person would be, right? And I guess that would be the probability. But there was a paper I stumbled upon. Actually, it was when I was reading nomological harmony. There's a paper that was cited within it, and I started reading it, and it kind of raised to my attention something I wasn't familiar with. But it was like kind of like the degree of support view. So you're just saying that like if you're doing like P of H conditional on E, something like that, like the degree of support view would be saying something like how strongly the evidence it supports the hypothesis independent of your belief. And he kind of gives this like argument about how how does he do it? There's like he talks about like Mercury's orbit. So he's like, let's say you already know the evidence. So the Mercury orbits like in this like in this weird orbit or whatever, and then later you discover that like the hypothesis that explains that evidence, right? The problem with like the standard Bayesianism, the degree of belief view, is that like if you already fully believe that evidence, then conditioning on that evidence doesn't change your belief. You just like the evidence can't confirm the hypothesis since it was like already known, but like the degree of support view is saying something like, well, even if the evidence is already known, the evidence still can support the hypothesis. So it's saying that like old evidence can kind of like confirm new hypotheses. Maybe I'm not articulating it well, but I could send you the paper that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
It's just like two different like perspectives on Bayesianism, which is fairly new to me, but I guess anyway, I'm just wondering if you're familiar with this sort of language.
No, I think I will come across, but I haven't read the paper on. I wouldn't know much about it.
Okay.
There was like
Cosmic, when you're talking about like phenomenology, or sorry, like the pain stuff, like you're familiar with the language of like valence, right? And how that's used in phenomenology?
In phenomenology,
Yeah,
the
like
tradition of Husserl and Heidegger and stuff.
yeah.
Can you just give me like a quick rundown?
Well, like um, I guess pain, like by definition, or at least some people want to say that pain by definition is negatively balanced, but it seems like Cosmic was kind of challenging that notion that like that it's not all like masochism is basically an example of like when pain is not negatively valenced because it still has like some positive like
No, I'm saying it's intrinsically bad, and all the examples we can give of it not being so would be in a broader context where your goal is to like some higher that justifies the pain in a sense.
justifies the pain.
Yeah, so like for a masochist is the word. Is it masochist? That's
Yeah, masochist.
Yeah.
yeah. So to them, the broader context or their overriding goal is sexual pleasure. So the pain is a means towards sexual pleasure. That's why the pain is accepted or endured. Just like with the bodybuilder, they want to build.
Wait. Put aside the sexual stuff. Like there are people who genuinely enjoy like burning themselves, for example, or like cutting themselves. The phenomenal state of pain is something that they enjoy. Now, I think most people would still want to say that it has a negative valence, but what you're saying, the language you're using, almost seems to me like you're saying it has some positive valence. That like it's. Or maybe the language is breaking down here.
Maybe. I think that pain is inherently bad, and I don't think anyone wants that unless it's in a broader context.
Yo, any example of people wanting pain is if it's like in weak, low potencies, like you're describing an itch or you're describing like something similar, but then if it gets like severe enough, like a sword slashing through your body, no one's 100% of people are gonna not like it, even the so-called masochists.
I'm not sure that's really like.
Sticks, you're saying that. What was that point you're making about like valence?
Well, valence, as I understand it, is going to be like the positive or the negative like feel of an experience, right?
Yeah.
So like whether you're like experiencing it as good or bad, and that like pain is just definitionally like negatively valenced.
Yeah.
I think at least that's more how I understand it. But if Cosmic is saying that like you're still feeling the same phenomenal state of pain, which is negatively valenced, but you're doing it for some other positive reason, that's not changing the valence. That's just like kind of like supervening on it. Maybe is the best way to. I don't know.
But could you address my point? Like anyone, like the fact that all the examples are not like strong enough pain.
No, but the strength of the pain is irrelevant to the discussion.
Yeah. Like what would be your broader point there, Stick?
Yeah. So my point is, you're describing masochists, and then the examples you're giving is like somebody liking an itch or somebody like similar amount, but like a true masochist, they're defined as a person who likes pain or seeks pain. So a masochist will like pain in any intensity. That's what a true masochist is. The fact that they stop being a masochist once the threshold is passed shows that they're not masochists.
So you don't think masochists exist, is what you're saying?
I don't think masochists exist. Yeah, the only
I don't know why you're defining it as in a way that like they're.
That's just equivocating on masochists, obviously.
Yeah, like why would you define it in a way that like they need to like the entailment of being called a masochist is that you need to enjoy pain to the highest degree. Like why can't we say that there are thresholds, that there are no masochists that exist that enjoy pain beyond that threshold?
So a masochist is a person who seeks or is okay with pain. So why should, in that definition, why should we make exceptions past?
No, but it doesn't mean they seek any pain under any condition, under any state. That's not what it means.
Yeah, so what that means,
right? But you rejected that.
Sorry?
Yes,
a masochist,
that pain is intrinsically bad.
Look, a masochist is going to be indexed to some pain, not all pain.
But that was what you guys were denying. I was making exactly that point, that it's in a context.
No, Cosmic. Well, your point, Cosmic, is that for them, pain is a means to something else. Like it's a
It's in
means.
the context.
Yeah. Whereas what we're talking about here is there are like you can still be a masochist, but there are degrees of pain or kinds of pain that you still would find unpleasurable. That doesn't disqualify you from being a masochist.
Yeah. My point was just that it's always contextual.
Like you're still we still call somebody a nudist, even though they don't want to be like nude in the middle of court. Like, just, we sit down and say they're like a nudist. If they enjoy being naked at home or naked at the beach or like in other settings.
I think there's like on a similar example, there are going to be examples of people who, everyone presumably enjoys pleasure, right? But there are going to be examples of for example, illegal, DRUGS, that people experience too much pleasure such that it's discomfort, it's uncomfortable. So I think they're even, I don't think we're committed to saying.
Actually, I don't know about that one, Sticks.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that where it's almost too the sensation of pleasure on these certain substances is too much for me to the extent that it's no longer pleasurable.
And then I don't know what you mean by pleasurable at that point, to be honest.
But that's kind of what Stick is saying on the I don't know if we have a word that's opposite of masochism where people enjoy pleasure, but assume there is.
Understand something too pleasurable just sounds like it's not pleasurable.
That's kind of what Stick is saying in the
the side effects, or maybe the twitching with too much pleasure.
It seems like it seems like a similar statement about masochism that Stick is making, that a certain degree of pain is in fact positively valenced, but then it hits a threshold and is negatively valenced, and then that person, but the people who enjoy that, we can't really define them as masochists because you'd have to enjoy the maximum extent of pain in order to be considered a masochist, which I don't agree with, but it seems like that's what he's saying.
Yeah, but masochists in low amounts, what they're doing actually, they're enjoying it because it's thrilling, or it's exciting, or maybe it's a new sensation. Because there are people there was an experiment where people were locked in a room and nothing was happening, but if they press a button, they get shocked slightly. So masochists aren't true masochists. The only true masochists if they like any intensity of pain, including drinking bleach or getting stabbed with a sword.
Wait, why are you insisting on this definition? Where did you get this definition from?
No, it's fine, bro.
A masochist is a person.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
It does matter, right? In the context of this argument, it does matter. Right?
It doesn't matter because we could just say, fine, there's no true masochist unless for those, and we could just say you're using a different sense of masochism.
But then, if you agree to that, then the conclusion will
there's
be
no
that,
such thing
there's
as
no one
agreeing.
who. But then the conclusion will be that there are no people. Wait, let me finish. There are no people who actually derive pleasure from pain, right? That would be the conclusion.
Who
which
cares?
isn't-
Who cares? He's just being
Wait,
idiosyncratic.
were you listening to the conversation that was happening before you came up?
The point is, if he wants to be
Because
idiosyncratic,
it's relevant. It's relevant to the
look,
conversation.
the point is he's idiosyncratic and equivocating, so it's irrelevant. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, it's irrelevant to you, but it's relevant to me
No,
and the
it's
people who are
no.
having
We
the
can just
conversation.
grant
You're not
him.
gonna decide for me. You can grant
You're
him.
not
You don't.
even
I
listening.
don't have
You're
to
not even.
agree with you.
You're
Why
not
are you
even
forcing
listening.
me to accept your position, Hatim? What's wrong with you?
You're
You
not
can
even
grant him.
listening.
You can grant him. It's relevant to you, but it's not irrelevant to me and
I
the
don't think you're
conversation that I was
listening.
listening to before I came up. Yeah, I'm
What
not
do you think
listening
my
to you
point
then.
is, Mage? What do you think the point I was making is?
Have your conversation with him.
Okay, so you don't understand. Look, before we butting in, you should probably listen to what I'm saying before you say that what I'm saying
With him, I'm
isn't
not
what you
interested.
think is true. Look, just pay attention. What I'm trying to say is Stick is just obviously idiosyncratic. He's talking in a different sense, using the same term. We can just grant him the different sense he's using because it's not the way we're using it.
Then
So,
grant him. I told you you can do that. Grant
are
him.
you
Have your
okay?
conversation. Have your conversation with him. Grant him.
No, the point I'm trying to say is he's just talking in a different sense. So it's not anything to not grant, right?
Have
Because
your conversation with him.
are you okay? I'm talking. I'm having the conversation. There's nothing to disagree with Sticks is saying. Stick is saying something very trivial. That according to his definition,
Your opinion, and I disagree with you. What part don't you get?
wait, do you think if we adopt his definition, he's wrong?
It's not about being wrong or right.
Right. So that's exactly what I said. Thank you. That's the
That has
whole
nothing
point.
to do with my position. It has nothing to do with anything I was saying.
That's the point I'm making, you dumbass.
Okay,
How are
well,
you
your
not
point has
listening?
nothing to do with mine because I didn't come up here to address you. I came up here to address Stick. I wasn't talking to you.
The point I'm making is there's nothing to address.
And that's your opinion.
What is it to address besides you just tackling his definition?
Mad
Okay,
over
what's
what are you
what's the current discussion? What are we discussing now?
What are you
I don't even know what,
contending?
I don't know what he's getting
Do
angry
you think
over.
you're having a
I don't understand.
substantive or a semantic dispute, Mage? Do you think
It's
you're
a
having a
healthy
substantive?
discussion.
Mage, do you think you're having a substantive or a semantic
I
dispute with
told
Stick?
you we can disagree. You can hold a position with
Mage,
me. I
can you
hold a
answer the
different
question?
position. It's that simple.
Mage, answer the question. Do you think you're having a substantive or a semantic dispute with Stick?
Like, what was Mage? What was the thing you wanted to discuss with Stick?
Are you having a substantive or semantic dispute?
So, to the host, I came up to ask Stick why he's insisting on this particular definition of being a masochist, this extremely idiosyncratic
Yeah.
definition.
So it's a semantic
He's
dispute.
insisting on it, right? I came to
No,
ask
but he's
why
not,
he's insisting
Hatim,
on it.
he's not disputing semantics. He's just curious why Stick would make up his own definition and then go on.
But who cares about that? What's interesting about that?
I
I
care
think
because I'm the one who's
Mage.
asking. Shut the fuck up. Like, you don't care, that's fine. I care. Simple.
Okay, what kind of answer are you expecting? He's gonna say
Shut the
just what I
fuck up.
want.
I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
All right, go ahead, Stick. Answer why you insist on that definition. Let's see how interesting the answer is.
Because that's my definition.
Yeah, but why are you making up your own definitions?
It's
Like,
not. It's not making. I feel like my definition.
What kind
is
of question are these?
no, but
Who?
it's just it's just looking for some psychological cause or something. Why he's behaving this way?
Look, a masochist is a person who likes pain. If you're gonna make excuses once the pain gets too strong, then you're just making excuses. That's not a masochist.
Yep,
My
that's not what-
definition makes.
Do you think? Do you think?
makes
Do you
zero
think that's what
excuses.
people mean when they with masochists?
Yeah. Well, they should mean that. Otherwise, they're not a true masochist.
Well-
You just made up that word.
Well, all words are made up, but like I'm saying, do you think?
Yeah.
when,
Well, okay. Well, that's my definition.
Yeah, but
I'm the
words-
author of my words. That's my definition.
Yeah, but
so
the
that's
point is,
how I use it.
but the point is, all language is made up at some point. But like language is like public. Like why not use the term the way it's defined in the dictionary and the way people understand? Like why? Because when you make up your own words, it's just gonna lead to confusion, right?
But also, we can apply the same logic, right? Like, we can say we are defining masochism differently, and the way we define it does make these people masochists, right? Like, we would just apply the same logic that you're applying, and then we're at an
Yeah,
impasse.
but you're making exception. That's like me saying
So
I
what?
like the
It's my
color
definition,
blue,
right?
but then
So
I
it's
don't
my
like the color blue
definition.
on Tuesdays.
It's
I
my
don't like the color
definition,
blue
though,
on
right?
Thursdays.
It's my definition, though, right? It doesn't matter. It's my definition.
Okay, sure. Okay, well,
See how
is that your
you'll
question?
never be able to have a substantial conversation if you like reason like that. That it's just my definition. Like, you don't agree. Blah. You cannot have any useful conversation like that.
Yes, you can. It's very
No, you
easy.
cannot.
It's very easy. You can just say,
You
"Oh,
cannot.
okay." Yeah, you can. You can just say,
The only
"Oh."
context in which that would work is if everyone is agreeing on your idiosyncratic definition. Clearly, we're not.
Definitions are
We
not
can't have a
something.
conversation.
Definitions are not propositions. They're not things to agree on.
Hatim, you're not even following
Definitions
what
can
I'm
be
saying. Just
proposition.
stay silent.
That's
You're
why.
not following.
Definitions
You
are
are not
stipulative.
following. You're not following.
No, definitions can
I'm
be
not following.
propositions.
I think
Look, definitions are simply stipulative for any conversation.
Exactly. Stick is using it in a propositional sense because he's saying that this is the definition and everyone has to agree to this
Yeah, but
definition.
like, yeah, let's just say, look.
Dick
let's just
never
say-
said everyone has to agree with it.
Following. You're not following, bro.
Why would
Yeah,
you
but
lie
that's
about
just, no,
something
because
like
this
that?
conversation is just kind of silly. Let's just say
He just lied.
like the way that everybody understands masochist is people who enjoy deriving pain. People enjoy being in pain. Not any degree of pain or any context, but in certain contexts they do and enjoy pain, whether like sexually, typically sexually. And then Stick has his own made up definition. Right. Now we can move on to something else.
A person who likes pain in any intensity. Do you have a word for that?
Call it schmashicist. Who cares?
So,
I don't know. Like maybe we say
so
like
you don't have a word for that.
I mean I don't know. Maybe like uber
Word for
masochist or
what?
something. Somebody who enjoys like pain in any like we don't like there are things we don't have words for. Like do we have words for people who want to eat pancakes at all parts of the day?
We
Probably
still call
not.
them a masochist, though. We just still call them a masochist, right? We
We
can
could
just
just
Yeah,
say
say, Stick, we
that
could
they're
just.
masochists. There are different kinds of masochists. Some
yeah,
masochists have
just
a
can
higher
be like
pain
extreme.
threshold.
Yeah,
It's
we
so
just like
simple.
qualify it. We say extreme masochism.
Yeah, we could say super masochist.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Super Saiyan masochist. We could say that.
All right, sure. Now we have a word. So no,
I'm
stop.
curious, Nick. Like, was there a like kind of like that was a really long detour for no reason, but like, was there a substantive kind of like? And I'm not accusing you of not adding anything to the combo. I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I'm just saying like, was there a substantive point that you were making with respect to that definition, with like regarding like valence and the phenomenology and all that, or was it just kind of like a pedantic thing?
Yeah, yeah. So like my entire point was like V was like saying that pain. Some people like pain, and I was just trying to highlight that the reason they like pain is because they find it thrilling, or if it's in very weak, low potencies, or if they're bored, or if there's like some motive. So
But that's just
that's what I was trying to
irrelevant,
show.
right?
That
It's
the
not
only
really relevant,
examples of
right?
masochists is if it's in like low amounts of pain or for some other reason. That's what I was trying to show.
Yeah, but that's just not relevant to the argument that was being made. It really doesn't matter whether it's like they
That
like
is relevant because I was
objects.
countering his claim. His
But
claim
you,
was they are
But
masochists for no
V,
reason, and I was
doesn't
showing
this
that.
like illustrate that definitions are important? So, for example, if I said or defined pain as an unpleasant experience that
Look,
warrants
there's no point in
avoidance
talking
behavior.
about this because no one's going to disagree with
See,
that. No one
okay,
here said definitions are not important. There's no point in talking about that. Let's try to be linear.
But like
I'm
yeah,
addressing V.
definitions are not important unless we're talking about technical words or idiosyncratic words. Like if I make up my own philosophy, if I'm like Heidegger and I start talking about like Dasein and being in the world and being in this and being in this, and I build like a whole systematic philosophy, then definitions are important.
No, but take this context.
Or if I'm like a Thomist or an Ash'ari or something where we have our own school and then we have our own technical language, and I come to an audience that is not familiar with like my scholastic school or like my sect or my languages, then it's important. But other than that, it's not important because language is public, right?
Yeah, but take the example that we're discussing now of pain. Like, if I define pain as an unpleasant behavior that warrants avoidance behavior, then you
but
saying that it could be pleasurable.
No, but
isn't
that's
that
problematic. That's problematic because now what you're doing is you're building in your definition a philosophical view, right? There are people who don't believe pain is intrinsically causes avoidance behavior. In fact, if you actually believed that, you couldn't run the psychophysical harmony argument. But
okay? Let's say I defined it as an unpleasant behavior.
no, but why are you defining it? Look, when you and your grandma talk about being in pain, you have like a discussion. There's like no problems there. In everyday context, you talk about being in pain. When you go to the doctor, you say, I'm being in pain, right? It's a public word. It's a colloquial word. It's a word that everybody understands. Trying to give it a definition is just going to confuse people. Right?
Obviously not, because look how we disagree. Like,
no, but we're disagreeing. We're not disagreeing about the semantics. We're like having a theory. What we're saying, we're talking about the essence or the metaphysics of pain. Are they intrinsically normative or not? That's not a lexicographical dispute. That's a metaphysical dispute. That's like
let's take the normative out of it and just say that it's unpleasant, an unpleasant like experience. Then under that definition, saying that it's enjoyable would be wrong, right? It wouldn't be pain anymore. If it's pleasurable,
but
then it's not
means
pain.
that building into it unpleasant is a bad analysis of a definition. That's not the definition of pain.
I mean, the thing is, you could define it that way, but then you're begging the question. I would rather use the term suffering for what you are describing.
Yeah, exactly. The point is not all pain states are suffering states.
Exactly.
Like suffering, I would agree, is definitionally unpleasant. But given that there are pain states that are pleasurable, that turn people on. It can't be definitionally that pain is unpleasant.
Yeah, but then someone could say that wouldn't be pain, because if it's pleasurable, it's not pain, because pain is
Defined
unpleasant.
it a certain way, right? If you've defined it in a way that it
It
makes your
can't be.
argument
Yeah,
for you,
it can't.
then
Look,
sure.
cosmic definition. Sorry, cosmic man. It can't be by definition unpleasant, because in natural language we have words like masochists. That means that, given that we have words like masochist, that means that pain can't definitionally be unpleasant.
I mean, I disagree with that. I think you can define it that way, but then it's just basically making the argument for you, right? Like, you're basically begging the question. You define it in the way that it suits your agenda or your claim.
No,
Yeah,
what
sure.
I'm,
But then,
no, what I'm
right, like
saying
that's
is, if you're talking about folk language, if you're talking about colloquialism, what the word means, pain can't mean unpleasant, because the part of the very same language has words like masochists, people who enjoy being in pain. So pain can't be something that is definitionally unenjoyable.
it still can colloquially, because people do use pain even within just a psychological context, right? Like emotional pain, for example. It could, but I get your point that typically colloquially people are referring to like the physical
I don't think they're
sensation.
using. I don't think they're using the same sense of the term pain when they speak like that, though, Venus. I think there's two senses of pain. One is like the physical sensation of when something like you get pricked by a needle, that kind of pain, and then the other kind of pain is something that's more broader that talks about like undesired states.
Yeah, but the desirability is kind of like the whole thing in question right now. Like we're talking about, like, this is why philosophers use terms like valence and positive and negative valence, because it kind of like it partitions out like the the phenomenal experience of pain from like the, I guess, like the evaluative like dimension of the experience. Like if you're saying something like, I still like anyway, this is like exhausting.
But that's what I'm saying, Sticks. I'm saying that the two senses are something like when I, go work out and I'm on I'm lifting weights to failure, that kind of sensation of pain. And then the other sensation of pain is something like my girlfriend breaking up with me. That sensation.
A question for Cosmic Man, because I need to leave soon, I need to go to work. But Cosmic Man, what term would you use to refer to pain that doesn't include that psychological definition of suffering, right? Like the kind of pain that a masochist is experiencing, what would you call that if not pain? If for you pain requires suffering, what would you call that?
I mean, I didn't use the word suffering. I said unpleasant.
Yeah, that's my point, right? Okay, sure. What would you
Unpleasant
call the kind of pain
experience.
that a masochist is experiencing? If for them it includes pleasure, what would you call
Yeah, I'm saying that under my definition, they would in fact not be in pain, because
I
it's
am getting that, and I'm asking you, what would you call it?
pleasure.
Oh,
I would call
what
their
would you call?
experience pleasure.
So they're experiencing pleasure from what, though, right?
Yeah, from what most people would experience as pain.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. Does that work for you, host? I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, not for me either. I think it's just like running away from the claim by just like changing the semantics, but I don't know.
I mean, at least I have a definition.
Actually, I do think that's coherent, though. I do think that's what most people.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's
incoherent, right? I'm saying I do think that's actually what most people. I think that's what most people mean when they say masochist. Is they're associating the class?
I don't think so.
I think they're associating the class of actions that typically would be not pleasurable, and saying that, people do find these things pleasurable. I think that's
the definition of a masochist is someone who finds pleasure from pain. According to Cosmic Man, these people are not experiencing pain, so that's not how people define it.
Did you hear anything I just said?
I mean, pain. Like the thing is, like pain is. Somebody can say pain is usually unpleasant or typically unpleasant, but like when I'm poking my gums because I like being in pain at point, it's still what I'm feeling is still pain.
But didn't you say it's pleasurable?
Yeah, I'm saying it is pleasurable, but it is still pain. So pain can't definitionally be unpleasurable.
Yeah, the thing is that the host and myself are not including unpleasant states within the definition of pain, right? At least for me, that's not what I'm doing. So we
I'm
can
saying
recognize that some
you
people
can say it's
experience pain
typically.
and pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can say it's typically unpleasant, but it's
yeah.
not always
It's
unpleasant.
not necessarily, exactly, yeah. But Cosmic Swan is saying it's necessarily unpleasant, otherwise it
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
be
I'm
pain.
saying it's inherently unpleasant. Yeah.
So that's just an impasse, I guess. Like, if the two of you can't agree on the terms, then
That's my point. Like terms and definitions are important. Otherwise, we would just talk past each other.
exactly, they are important, which is why I was telling your team to shut the fuck up so that we can resolve this conversation.
You're not listening. Of course they're important, but they're not propositional, they're stipulative. So somebody says this is what I mean by this term. You can have a conversation about, oh, why do you want to say it like that? But that's not gonna
Which
progress.
is literally what I came up to ask. I literally came up to ask Stick, why are you insisting on the definition? And then
What
you went
answer
on
did
the
you
rant
get?
about blah, 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 rather than
What
this,
answer
that,
did
and
you
that,
get?
right? Because you weren't listening.
What
Anyway, I
answer
need to
did you
go to
get?
work now, so you can continue the conversation.
What answer did you get? Do you
By,
remember?
by the way, guys, I'm just gonna restart the live, so make sure you join right away.
Right here, right now.